Chapter 181 Making a Decision. Chapter 181 Making a Decision. Near the Lulin Palace, Yi Futian and the others stood on top of the Black Wind Eagle and watched the battle unfold in the distance. Li Daoyun was even more powerful than they had imagined. He made his way near the palace. Many people had died under his sword. Ancient Lulin had absolute control over Lulin City, but their control was limited to the areas surrounding Lulin City. Li Daoyun, who came from a powerful group of the Barren City, he did not care about ancient Lulin. So, what if he killed many of their people? It wasn't like they would send people to his clan and try to even the score. He cared even less about them while in the ancient barren world. Corpses laid all over the ground, but Li Daoyun still couldn't advance to the Lulin Palace was right there in front of him. Everyone knew what would happen if he made it there. Just then, those fighting Li Daoyun got into formation, attacking him and blocked his way. Li Daoyun stood there and looked over at Yi Futian standing far away. His cutting gaze also held a hint of ridicule. You guys got lucky this time. If the Lulin Palace hadn't been here, Yi Futian and his friends would have never made it out alive. It was a pity that he could not get his hands on the treasure. Li Daoyun turned and was prepared to leave, still as arrogant as ever. What's your name? Where are you from? Yi Futian suddenly asked. Li Daoyun stopped in his track. Turning around, his eyes fell on Yi Futian. The ridicule in his eyes grew. What could he have wanted? Revenge. This was the way everyone lived. They always dreamt of getting revenge after being humiliated. What they did not know was, there was never a happy ending to revenge. Just death. Li Daoyun of the Futian Sword Clan. Remember that, he replied. Everyone heard what he said. From his tone, it was easy to tell that he looked down on Yi Futian. Li Daoyun did not deem Yi Futian a worthy opponent. Of those from ancient Lulin, the ones who had heard of the Futian Sword Clan felt a shiver. They were left speechless. Although Li Daoyun had killed many of their people, it seemed like it would be impossible to get revenge. Li Daoyun left those words before leaving. He obviously didn't care about what Yi Futian thought. He was just a little disappointed that he could not steal the treasure from Yi Futian. However, this also did not bother him too much. This was the pride he had from being from one of the most powerful clans in the Eastern Barren Territory. Li Daoyun of the Futian Sword Clan, mumbled Yi Futian, repeating his name. He was also unbothered by Li Daoyun. They shared similar thoughts. In Li Daoyun's opinion, Yi Futian would only end up dead if he tried to get revenge. But in Yi Futian's opinion, Li Daoyun was dead as soon as he introduced himself. Cultivators of ancient Lulin left to bring back Virgin Lulin Shui. Let's go, said Yi Futian. He turned around and headed for the palace. Many of the cultivators of ancient Lulin stayed behind them to ensure their safety. Mounted on the Black Wind Eagle, Yi Futian seemed to be in deep thought. He remained that way for a while before whispering, what would have happened if I handed the book over to them? Would Yi Wuchen's arms still be chopped off if he had released the book to the Barren City cultivators? Don't think too much about it, said Yi Wuchen. He did not dwell on the situation at all. Had you given the book away right in front of the Virgin, could you have ensured that the people of ancient Lulin wouldn't come after you? Yi Futian made no further remarks. Returning to the same residence in the palace, Yi Futian took out the treasurable book. A chilling energy was still coming from the object. The picture in the book was just as icy cold as before, bone-chillingly cold. However, besides the terrifying will and the chilling artistic conception, there did not seem to be anything special about the treasurable book. Could it be that the existence of this half of the book was for the sheer purpose of carrying on the energy of this ice will? If so, then what was contained in the other half? He was very curious. The book would only be complete with both halves, but rumors had it the Empress of ancient Lulin rebuilt the kingdom with the power of just half a book. Although these rumors could not be fully trusted, Yi Futian refused to believe that a person with no gifts could become the Empress of ancient Lulin by relying solely on the power of a treasure. This was not to say that the power of treasurable books should be looked down on. There was obviously something special about it for the people of ancient Lulin to hold it in such esteem. Not long after, Lulin Shui returned with her people and arrived at Yi Futian's residence. What are your conditions? Lulin Shui stood in front of Yi Futian and asked in her usual cold demeanor. She definitely did not beat around the bush. I want to take a look at the other half of the book, he said to Lulan Shui. Of course, if the Virgin doesn't agree to it, I can consider changing my conditions. Ancient Lulan had previously stated that they wanted to do an exchange of equal value. To be honest, Yi Futian was the disadvantaged party when it came to trading his half of the book for a glimpse of the other half. However, Ancient Lulan still might not agree with his request and he was not going to force them to comply. After all, he did not have the right to bargain after their people provided him with protection to keep him alive. I'll have to ask the Celestial Empress, said Lulan Shui. When it came to the other half of the book, she could not make a decision. All right, then you can take this half first. Yi Futian handed the book over to the Virgin. She looked at him in confusion but took the book anyway. Yi Futian did this to make his attitude known. Otherwise, the Empress might think that he was using the book as leverage. That might put them in danger once again. In the best case scenario would be that they get a chance to see the other half of the book. If not, then he'll just have to change his conditions. Wait here for my news, Lulan Shui said before turning to leave. Not long after the departure of the Virgin, another group of people arrived. It was Qian Yang and his posse. They had previously stayed in the pavilion across. Yi Futian. Qian Yang walked up to him with a seemingly friendly smile. You sure got a lot from Lulan Relic trip I invited you on. I had some gains but also lost a lot, said Yi Futian. Qian Yang looked over at Yi Wuchen's dismembered arm and continued, I heard you got your hands on the treasurable book Ancient Lulan wanted most. I bet you made set some conditions for an exchange with the Virgin, right? Before bringing you guys here, I said that we'll split anything we got from the relic site. What do you plan to do now? Qian Yang stared at Yi Futian. When everyone had rushed to fight over the book, Qian Yang had headed to the soldiers' mound. But when he got there, all the ritual implements had already been taken. In other words, he did not get a single thing from this trip to the Lulan relic. Unlike him, Yi Futian and his friends gained so much. Right from the beginning, they each acquired a ritual implement from the soldiers' mound. Then, they even obtained the most important treasure at the relic site. There was also the Book of Flames and probably even more they did not know of. With his bad mood, Qian Yang was bound to have certain opinions of Yi Futian. Split. Yi Futian's group looked at Qian Yang's group. Yu Sheng's eyes were ice cold when he asked, where did you get the audacity to ask such a question? Qian Yang did not tell them a thing about the relic site before they entered. Neither did he warn them of potential dangers. It was obvious that Qian Yang was just using them. In Qian Yang's eyes, it did not matter if Yi Futian and his friends got a hold of the treasures because everything they got belonged to him. So, why would it have mattered to him if they died during the collapse of the relic site? Watch your mouth, Shi Tong said coldly. His eyes fell on Yu Sheng's battle axe. He wanted it for himself. Did you ever chip in when we were fighting the nobles for the treasures? Yi Futian asked with a sarcastic smile. Qian Yang looked uncomfortable at the question. It was Zhao Han beside him who spoke up. If it hadn't been for young Master Qian, you guys wouldn't have even been allowed to enter the relic. Now you guys want to keep all the treasures for yourselves. He wanted the sword in Yi Wuchen's hand. Now that the wills in the implements had disappeared, there was no need to get acknowledgement. As long as they could get their hands on the implements, it was theirs. Yi Futian looked at Zhao Han and knew there was no need to argue. He chuckled, that's right. If he said they were keeping everything for themselves, then that was exactly what they were going to do. Have you thought this through? Asked Qian Yang. He still had a smile on his face. Absolutely, replied Yi Futian. The two met eyes. Although they had gained a lot from this trip, Yi Wuchen had lost his arm. How dare these people come at them with talks of splitting the treasures? What a joke. I'm going to stay at the residence just across. Thinking it over a little more. Perhaps you'll change your mind, chuckled Qian Yang before leaving. Zhao Han and Shi Tong glared at Yi Futian and the others while Yu Linglong smiled charmingly at them. Things are different here, outside of the relic. How strong can you be even with a noble implement if there's no noble will to help you? She asked softly. Within every ritual implement in the relic, existed a noble level will that used their powers to help activate the powers of the implements they once used. In that situation, the powers of the implements were not to be doubted, but now, an implement was just an implement. It was only powerful if the person wielding it was powerful, and at the level of Yi Futian and his friends, the implements wouldn't be too powerful. Yun Qinmo. Qian Yang suddenly spoke up again with his back still turned to everyone else. You should also think things over. Yun Qinmo was shaken up by his words. Zhao Han turned his head to look back at her. His cold eyes pierced into her before he finally left. Right now, it was possible to see the conflict within Yun Qinmo from her eyes. She knew how powerful Yi Futian could be and was able to say that everyone in his circle was more powerful than Qian Yang and his posse. If she continued to cultivate with him, it would really help her. But now, it was possible that Yi Futian and Qian Yang might come face to face for a battle. Qian Yang was the young leader of the Qinmeng area and Zhao Han was the son of her master. She could not stand on their opposing side. Furthermore, Yi Futian and the others were powerful, but how would they go against Qian Yang's group outside of the relic? Yi Futian turned to Yun Qinmo. It was almost as if he could see the conflict in her eyes because he said, if you want to leave, I'll let you go. Yun Qinmo's gaze froze on Yi Futian. Making a final decision, she said, I can't stand against them. Yi Futian observed her calmly. Although Yun Qinmo's gifts were not too strong, she was a fairly resolute person. It was obvious when she had made the decision to become his maid. It was the same this time around. Once again, she was firm with the choice she made. Yu Sheng watched Yun Qinmo with his cold eyes. It was then that Yi Futian brushed past Yun Qinmo. He said, Yu Sheng, take her fate and let her leave. Chapter 182 Sage Intent. Chapter 182, Sage Intent. Stealing of fate was a cruel thing. Using one's intent to tear the other's intent away, the latter would decrease in plane. But Yi Futian still made Yu Sheng do it, ignoring Yun Qinmo's hateful eyes. People had to pay for their choices. If Yun Qinmo hadn't agreed to be his servant, he couldn't have forced her to do so. This was a voluntary matter. Later, Yun Qinmo had fulfilled her duties, and so he helped her when possible. Yun Qinmo had gained much at the Kang Mountain Relic and Noble Grotto. Now, Qian Yang and Zhao Han had made it obvious they were enemies. Yun Qinmo was prepared to leave with just one sentence. How could it be so easy? When she went back, she would be part of the Sword Clan again, Zhao Han's junior sister. What would she do to them? If Yun Qinmo chose to leave after things settled, Yi Futian wouldn't snatch her fate. But she had to leave in this dangerous time after Yi Wuchen lost his arm. Yi Futian's mood went without saying. Yun Qinmo left after her fate was taken. She didn't fight. Yi Wuchen's ability to escape from Li Daoyun proved his abilities. Even though he lost his arm, she still wasn't his match. Only Qian Yang with his noble fate could restrict Yi Wuchen. Yun Qinmo didn't know that not only had Yi Wuchen escaped, but he'd also injured Li Daoyun. She also didn't know that Yi Futian hadn't used the intent contained in the ritual implement to receive the book, Punish the King. He didn't use fate either and instead had an even stronger intent. Only Yi Wuchen saw this secret. Yi Futian had had Yu Sheng take them to the pavilion because he didn't them to see the secret. Yu Sheng had understood this. After Yun Qinmo left, Yi Futian cultivated peacefully while waiting for Lulin Shui's news. Ancient Lulin Palace. The true Lulin Palace was not in the ancient barren world. The majestic palace was simple and clean, not opulent at all. A middle-aged woman clad in a white robe sat quietly in the ice matrix. She stared forward. There, a gust of terrifying coldness seeped out. It was the two scrolls. Right now, they were being combined gradually. She focused entirely on the books. She felt coldness bite into her bones from the books. It was like the intent of a sage and was extremely frightening. Sage. At that moment, her expression suddenly changed. As the Empress of ancient Lulin, she'd never been so serious before. Yes, a voice rang out in her mind. It was from the book. The Empress's heart quivered. The rumors were true. The scrolls of Lulin's ancestors contained and preserved sage intent. The one who had the scroll would win the world. Are you the Empress of Lulin? The intense voice said. Sage, I am the descendant of Lulin's first Empress, the Empress said. Very few people knew this. They only knew that the talented girl had recovered Lulin's glory with a precious book and was given the title of Empress. But in reality, she was the descendant of ancient Lulin. Every virgin after that was actually all the Empress' daughter. They inherited the position and continued ancient Lulin's bloodline. The book was silent for a while. Then a voice sounded, and the Empress listened quietly. After a long while, she closed the book and looked outside. "Lulin Shui," she called. Outside, a beautiful figure walked over. She had silver hair and white eyes. Bowing, she called, "Empress." The person before her was not only ancient Lulin's Empress, she was her mother. "Bring him here," the Empress said. "I will lend the book to him to read." Yes, Lulin Shui left. The palace of Lulin Shui was connected to the ancient barren world. The entrance was right in the palace, so Lulin Shui quickly entered the palace in the ancient barren world and found Yi Futian. "The Empress wants to see you in the Lulin Palace. She agreed to your request," she said. Yi Futian's eyes brightened. The Empress wanted to see him. "Okay." Yi Futian nodded and said to Yu Sheng beside him, "I'm going. Wait for me here." With that, he left with Lulin Shui. The sharp man and a group of guards were beside them too. They were curious why the Empress wanted to see Yi Futian. He stepped into the passageway with Lulin Shui and found that he'd arrived before an immensely majestic palace. This was the true Lulin Palace. The strong force was truly confident in itself. It controlled the passageway alone. Anyone from the ancient world who wished to enter the ancient barren world needed Lulin's permission. The true Lulin Palace was obviously more imposing than the one in the ancient barren world. It was bold and simple. Yi Futian and the others arrived before a large pavilion. He looked left and right and saw guards everywhere. A beautiful figure stood on the steps. She was extremely elegant and felt like a king despite being a woman. "Empress," everyone greeted and bowed. Her eyes instantly fell on Yi Futian. She turned and walked towards the pavilion while saying, "Lulin Shui, bring him in." Yes, Lulin Shui nodded. She brought Yi Futian up the steps and into the pavilion. The pavilion was open and clean. There was an ice matrix in the front. Coldness seeped from it. The book hovered above the ice matrix, releasing powerful coldness. "I heard that you received the book with only the first level Dharma plane. You killed many noble intents too. How did you accomplish this?" the Empress asked. She stood before the matrix, back to Yi Futian. "It was luck. I almost lost my life," Yi Futian said. The Empress obviously knew he didn't say everything. She didn't continue asking and just said, "This is where I cultivate. The book is here. You can cultivate here for a period of time." "Thank you, Empress," Yi Futian said. "You deserve it," she replied coolly and turned around. Her eyes were silvery as well. They seemed to see through Yi Futian. Then she started walking out. "Let us go." Lulin Shui obviously knew the Empress was talking to her. She glanced at Yi Futian and followed the Empress away. "If I cultivate for too long, please notify my friends," Yi Futian spoke out. "Okay," Lulin Shui replied. The Empress and Lulin Shui left. Yi Futian said amongst the ice matrix that the Empress was cultivating from. The powerful frozen water elements surrounded him. With a thought, the freezing power surged into his body. Behind him, the ice Dharma appeared. It began absorbing the coldness. The matrix spun, and his body was buried in the foggy coldness. The freedom meditation was activated. Yi Futian gazed at the hovering book. The artistic conception of the moon, snowy peaks, and frozen world remained on it. Above the snowy peaks, he could faintly see a snowy figure sitting quietly at the top. Yi Futian's heart shuddered. This wasn't there before. Now, the book was complete and more objects appeared in the picture. The freedom meditation was pushed to the max. Yi Futian felt another attractive force. His mind was pulled into the book and arrived at the top of the snowy mountain. "It's so cold." Yi Futian shivered. The cold moon hung high while the figure at the mountaintop sat quietly. Yi Futian's mind walked over. The figure turned slowly. Seeing Yi Futian, he smiled. "I didn't think you really could enter. Senior, is this the space created by your intent?" Yi Futian asked curiously. "You can say that. Unfortunately, you are not a descendant of Lulin. This book must remain in Lulin. Since you can come here, I won't let you go empty-handed." The figure rose slowly. His eyes had turned white, terrifyingly so. At that moment, Yi Futian felt various ancient words float into his mind. He absorbed them wildly, but every word contained extreme coldness, sealing his mind in ice. It's like the Book of Flames. Is that book of a similar level? Yi Futian asked, heart trembling. It was long ago, but the flame technique lost its spirit and sage intent, the figure replied. Endless icy words entered Yi Futian's mind. After a long while, his mind was transformed into an ice sculpture and shattered. In the outer world, Yi Futian remained sitting quietly in the matrix. There was a layer of ice over him. He didn't move. The days passed by but nothing happened inside the ice matrix. Lulin Shui came many times, but it was always the same. Today, she came again with the Empress. The Empress sat quietly outside the matrix. Seeing Yi Futian, she was shocked inwardly. The sage was correct. Yi Futian could dig up more of the book's potential than the Lulin royalty. Unfortunately, he wasn't from Lulin. Let us go. The Empress left after a short while. After a few more days, something terrifying came from within the matrix. Scalding hot currents flowed out. The ice on Yi Futian melted bit by bit. Then a terrible aura burst out. Behind Yi Futian, a strange sight appeared. The sun and moon hung high. Coldness and heat overlapped, transforming into a horrible whirlpool. All the surrounding spiritual chi sizzled. There was a sea of fire below the sun. Below the moon, icy glaciers appeared. This was Dharma. Now, Yi Futian created yet another Dharma. This was the artistic conception of the ice matrix. It was even stronger than the sun Dharma from before. Sun, moon, water, fire, Yi Futian murmured. Not only did the Lulin sage have the ability to cultivate ice, but he also cultivated fire. However, the sage intent in the Book of Flames disappeared later. The flame talent disappeared gradually, and only the ice ability was passed down. Chapter 183 The Empress, Anger. Chapter 183, The Empress, Anger. Lulin Palace, the Empress, Pavilion. Presently, the Empress sat quietly in a gazebo. Beside her, Lulin Shui stood still like a statue. What do you think of him? The Empress asked out of the blue. Lulin Shui looked at the Empress in confusion. Yi Futian, she clarified. He is very talented, answered Lulin Shui. Besides talented, the Empress continued to ask. Lulin Shui blinked a couple of times, still not understanding the meaning behind her mother's questions. Seeing how confused Lulin Shui was, the Empress realized just how clueless her daughter was to these things. Her eyes drifted toward the pond by the gazebo. She said softly, he's got the look. It's hard to find someone so handsome in the palace. Plus, he is also gifted. Although he is a little young, age has never been a problem when it comes to the world of cultivation. What do you think? Lulin Shui's beautiful silver eyes widened. The expression on her face meant she finally understood her mother's meaning. I never thought about it, said Lulin Shui. It's not too late to start thinking now, the Empress said, turning her gaze back to her daughter. You'll have to start thinking about this topic sooner or later. Now the perfect match has arrived. If you let him go, it'll find hard to find a better guy. Lulin Shui looked into her mother's eyes, realizing she had a point. Yi Futian was able to acquire ritual implements in the book at the first level Dharma plane. Her mother also told her that Yi Futian was able to communicate with the sages while in the book. There was no doubt that he was extremely gifted. He was also very handsome, which indeed make him the perfect candidate. The Empress noticed that Lulin Shui was thinking about what she had just said. If you don't choose him now, you'll still have to pick someone in the future. Think carefully. Lulin Shui hesitated briefly before nodding. All right. Her reply was simple, as if she hadn't just made one of the most important decisions in her life. It was simply a mission to be accomplished by her. Just as the Empress had said, she was going to have to find a man sooner or later, and she did indeed have a great impression of Yi Futian. He was easy on the eyes. Then it's settled, smiled the Empress. She had a clear understanding of her daughter's personality. Lulin Shui was disinterested in most things, just like the vibe she gave off to others. This also applied to her love life. She had not known Yi Futian for long, so naturally, she had no special feelings for him, but she did know how to make the best choice for herself. Yi Futian was definitely not a bad choice. Empress, a servant girl stepped in to report, he has emerged. Perfect timing. The Empress smiled. Have him come over. The girl was shocked. The Empress was inviting Yi Futian into her pavilion. No other man had ever had the privilege of doing so. Although she was shocked, she had to suppress her emotions. The servant girl bowed and was off to carry out the Empress' order. Not long after, Yi Futian was brought to the Empress. In his eyes, the Empress and Lulin Shui looked like sisters, both cold yet beautiful. Except, the Empress was more of a dignified beauty. No one would dare to disrespect her. With silver hair and eyes, Lulin Shui's beauty was bewitching. Greetings to the Honorable Empress. Yi Futian bowed. The Empress nodded in acknowledgement and looked straight at him. How did the cultivation go? I have made some progress thanks to you, Empress, said Yi Futian, expressing his gratitude. He was worried about why the Empress had summoned him. The pavilion where the Empress and the Virgin resided hardly seemed like a place where he should be entering. You earned it, the Empress replied nonchalantly. What do you think of the Virgin's looks? Yi Futian froze. All he managed to do was blink. What was going on? He looked over to Lulin Shui. She simply stood there, cold and silent, like a statue. She's beautiful, of course, Yi Futian answered with a nod. This was the truth. He was a truthful man. In ancient Lulin, whether it be the Virgin's appearance or her gifts, she is truly outstanding. Peerless, if I may say so, the Empress rambled on, complimenting her daughter. The wheels turned in his head as Yi Futian tried to figure out why the Empress was saying all this to him. And so, it's difficult to find a man worthy of the Virgin in ancient Lulin, she said. The topic of her future is a big headache. Yi Futian did not dare to follow up with any comment. A ridiculous thought popped into his mind. Have my good looks brought me trouble once again? Do you have any thoughts about this? The Empress asked Yi Futian with a smile. I wouldn't dare to express any opinions on such an important subject. Yi Futian lowered his head. He had a bad feeling about all this. The Empress chuckled. Was he playing dumb? Her intentions were already very clear, but he was still not giving a proper reply. Did she really have to spell it out for him? This boy was too sly. How would you feel if I betrothed the Virgin to you? Asked the Empress. Her tone was extremely casual. Yi Futian's entire body tensed up. He was even more nervous now than he had been fighting the nobles and the army in the relic. Right now, he was in the pavilion of another kingdom's Empress and she was trying to marry her daughter to him. No words were needed to explain just how stressed he was. How could I be worth on the Virgin? Yi Futian said politely. As soon as he was finished, an invisible force descended upon him. He felt cold. It was the Empress, Aura. If I say you're worthy, then there's no problem, said the Empress. How dare this boy say no? Quote. Yi Futian was completely dumbfounded. The wheels in his head turned faster. The Virgin and I have not known each other for long and have barely communicated. It's hardly fair to the Virgin to make such a rash decision. Lulin Shui looked at him calmly and said, I have no objections. Quote. Yi Futian was rendered speechless. I know I'm good looking, but how can they be so direct? If you're already standing here, it means that I've already asked for her opinion. There's no need for you to consider anything else, the Empress said. I'm going to pick a good date and announce it to the people. Let's get you guys married as soon as possible. How about it? Empress, you can't do this. There was a change in his expression. Hua Jieyu was still waiting for him in the Kangye kingdom. There was no way he could just marry another girl. The Empress frowned. Another force of majestic energy was released from her and pushed down on Yi Futian. I already have a woman I love. Yi Futian knew there was no other way around this. All he could do was tell the truth. How can she be better than the Virgin? Asked the Empress after pausing briefly in shock. She was trying to betroth Lulin Shui to Yi Futian and he was actually unwilling. Now, he was doing everything he could to get out of this situation. She was the Empress, so of course, this put her in a foul mood. Empress, this isn't a matter of who is better or more gifted, said Yi Futian. In his heart, Hua Jieyu was obviously better, but he couldn't come out and say that to the Empress. The Empress stared at Yi Futian. She could see the determination in his eyes. He was looking her straight in the eyes, unwilling to back down. The force of energy disappeared and she spoke again. If so, then you can take that girl as a concubine. Make Hua Jiu a concubine. Yi Futian shook his head at the Empress. The Empress' frown grew and she continued to stare at him. Don't tell me you're planning to make the virgin be a concubine. She was already being very polite to him. If it wasn't because the sage favored Yi Futian, she wouldn't be here bartering with a junior. She was the Empress for crying out loud. But here he was, not appreciating her kindness. Then, I'll just have to kill her, said the Empress coldly. As soon as he heard this, the look in Yi Futian's eyes sharpened, shooting daggers at the Empress. His fists clenched tight. He was trying to control his boiling anger. Seemingly sensing the change in Yi Futian, the Empress' aura grew colder. Everything in the surrounding looked about ready to freeze over. The atmosphere in the room was ice cold. Lulin Shui also did not anticipate for things to end this way. She looked at the two people in front of her and said, if he doesn't want to, then forget it. Not only did the Empress' anger not die down after these words, her aura grew even colder. She had brought up marriage for her daughter and offered to betroth Lulin Shui to Yi Futian. Then, he actually rejected. Hearing her daughter's words now, only made her feel that Lulin Shui had been wronged. The Empress called out to summon someone and multiple females appeared. Capture that B***starred and keep a close eye on him, ordered the Empress. Yes, the females stepped closer to him. I can show myself out, said Yi Futian. He turned around and began to walk away with the females following behind him. How preposterous, said the Empress in anger. This B***starred. You wanted me to marry him because you valued his talent and wanted him to become a citizen on ancient Lulin, but by doing this, you are offending him. Lulin Shui remained calm all throughout. Although, she did feel strange. Her mother had made an offer to marry her to Yi Futian and she had even agreed to it herself. Now, they had both been rejected. Then kill him, said the Empress in a cold demeanor. So what if he was extremely gifted? She had already made her compromise, allowing him to marry both females. It was that jackass who chose to reject. Did he really plan to make Lulin Shui his concubine? Or did he think that Lulin Shui was not worthy to be his wife? Why do you have to do this? Didn't you say that the sage holds him in high esteem? Lulin Shui attempted to dissuade her mother from killing Yi Futian. The Empress' anger began to die down. She was just pissed. After all, this was her only daughter. As the Empress, of course, she would be upset after getting rejected by Yi Futian after she had been the one to offer her daughter's hand in marriage. I shall go speak with the sage. In a flash, the Empress disappeared and showed up at the hall for cultivation. She sat down at the center of the ice matrix. The book was still floating in the air. The Empress' consciousness slipped into the book. Not long after, she opened her eyes with a strange expression on her face. Lifting her feet, she walked outside. She then arrived at the place where Yi Futian was being put on lockdown. He was being watched. Seeing the Empress approach really pissed him off. Indeed, Lulin Shui was beautiful, but so what? Did that mean he had to marry her? What were you thinking? The Empress stopped right in front of Yi Futian. Her tone was much calmer now. The anger from before was no longer there. I don't understand what you mean, said Yi Futian. When you tried to leave before, I really wanted to kill you, but the Virgin begged for me to have mercy on you, she answered. Then, please thank her for me, Yi Futian replied coldly. I'll make another compromise. What if you just take both of them as your wives? I'm not marrying her, Yi Futian answered calmly. Chapter 184 One sword per person. Chapter 184 One sword per person. Yi Futian's decisive rejection changed the Empress' calm expression. This was blasphemous. She was the Empress and her daughter, Lulin Shui, was extremely talented and her beauty was unbeatable. She was willing to marry below her status but was rejected. Now, she was even willing to have her daughter share with another woman but was still rejected. The Virgin isn't qualified enough for you, the Empress asked coldly. If not for the sage's words, she would slap this boy to death. Empress, you must know that the Virgin doesn't have any feelings for me. How can something like this be so casual? Yi Futian asked. Just because she is pretty. Does that mean I should marry every pretty girl? Feelings can develop slowly. After being together, you will naturally fall for her, the Empress said. Was this B** starred pretending to be pure? Didn't all men only care about looks? After getting used to Lulin Shui beside him, the Empress believed he would change heart. In her opinion, the girl Yi Futian liked couldn't be prettier than her daughter. Empress, I do not know the reason why you wish the Virgin to marry me, but I really do have a girlfriend already. Our relationship is very good as well. If you have your eyes on my talent, I've received some things in the Lulin relic and met the sage in the book. I can be friends with Lulin. You do not need to force me to marry the Virgin. Yi Futian knew that he was attractive, but the Empress was obviously doing this for his talent rather than his looks. She wanted to tie him in. Because he was in her territory, Yi Futian must bow down and first get through this. The Empress stared at Yi Futian. This B** starred was truly sensitive. She knew that Yi Futian's words were logical too, but Yi Futian would soon enter the ancient barren world to cultivate. He wasn't from Lulin either. How tight would their friendship be? It would just be a favor at most. This wasn't what she wanted. The sage wished for Yi Futian to become a Lulin citizen. That was why she had the idea to marry her daughter. Only this relationship could tie Yi Futian tightly. He couldn't run if Lulin Shui had his child in the future. The Lulin bloodline could be passed down well too. But she didn't expect that Yi Futian would refuse. Looking at him, the Empress pondered. Her voice became slow and calm as she said, "In that case, I won't force you. I was too extreme earlier, but it is your fault too. The Virgin does have good feelings toward you. Maybe you will change your mind after some more interactions. Follow me." With that, she walked towards her own pavilion. "Thank you, Empress." Yi Futian followed her. The Empress' expression was cold as she cursed Yi Futian inwardly. She really wanted to beat Yi Futian up. Yi Futian also looked at the Empress' backside, cursing her inwardly for changing so quickly. He wished he was strong enough to beat this old hag up. When Yi Futian saw Lulin Shui at the Empress' pavilion, she was quiet and cold as before. It was as if nothing had happened. Perhaps this was her personality. Seeing the Empress and Yi Futian, she understood that they must have resolved things. "You'll return to the ancient barren world to cultivate soon," the Empress said. "Yi Futian, how long do you plan to stay there?" "I'm not sure. I might go to the barren city," Yi Futian said. Yi Wuchen couldn't lose his arm for nothing. He still couldn't take revenge, but he wanted to learn about some things. This could help with entering the eastern barren territory as well. "Your plane is still too low," the Empress said. "Ancient Lulin has placed many noble ritual implements in the ancient barren world. They're from the relic and have never been taken out. I heard that you received a guqin, but it won't be enough. I'll have the Virgin help you choose back in the ancient barren world." Yi Futian blinked. No wonder she was the Empress. Her tactics. Earlier, she seemed to want to kill him. Now, she was like a senior caring for her junior. So powerful. "Thank you, Empress," Yi Futian said. "Go out first. I must speak with the Virgin," the Empress then said. Yi Futian nodded and went outside. Lulin Shui looked up at the Empress. It seemed that she still hadn't given up. "That B** starred is very fake. With your features, I don't believe he won't change his mind. He'll forget his girlfriend within the month," the Empress said. "At that time, I'll make him beg me to marry you." As if imagining that scene, a cold sneer appeared in the Empress's eyes. Lulin Shui studied her without saying anything. "All right, you may go," the Empress said. Lulin Shui nodded. She left the pavilion and found Yi Futian. "Let's return to the ancient barren world," she said. "Okay." Yi Futian nodded. They returned together. Lulin Shui was still as calm as ever, as if nothing had happened. After returning to Yi Futian's pavilion, the Black Wind Eagle came up. Yu Sheng also walked over. Yi Futian asked him, "Have those people bothered you guys? They're very arrogant. They often come over to check as if they're guarding us and waiting for us to leave the Lulin Palace," Yu Sheng replied coldly. Yi Futian's eyes flashed. Were they waiting to fight? "Where's Wuchen?" Yi Futian saw Lin Yuyao but not Yi Wuchen. "He's cultivating in private," Yu Sheng said. "He improved greatly while you were gone. I've entered the second-level Dharma plane too." "Not bad," Yi Futian said, smiling. "Me too." Lin Yuyao pouted. This group was crazy. She was only in the second-level Dharma plane right now. When she was in the 9-star glory plane, they were only in the 7-star. Now they had already caught up. That was only for planes. Their combat abilities were much higher than hers. Then we'll continue cultivating for a while and wait for Wuchen to finish, Yi Futian said. Yi Wuchen had been nourished by noble intent in the relic, lost his arm, and received a ritual implement. He must have many thoughts and would need to spend some time on raising his plane, solidifying his intent. After that, Yi Futian began cultivating peacefully. One day, he was playing his guqin, a beautiful figure walked over. It was Yu Linglong. Zhao Han and Shi Tong were behind her. They looked at Yi Futian coldly. Yu Linglong moved lightly and came before Yi Futian, who was playing his instrument. Smiling, she said, "You're finally back. I actually missed you." Her smile was too beautiful and mesmerizing. "Sadly, I'm not interested in older women," Yi Futian said, raising his head. Yu Linglong's eyes hardened. Looking at Yi Futian, she said, "Young Master Qian wanted me to ask you if you thought it through yet." "Think what through?" Yi Futian asked, not understanding. Shi Tong huffed. "I've heard that you went out of the ancient barren world and exchanged the book for some treasure these days." "Yeah, you want it?" Yi Futian looked at Shi Tong. "Yi Futian, are you planning on hiding in here forever?" Zhao Han asked straightforwardly. His voice was frigid. As long as Yi Futian stayed in the palace, they couldn't do anything. It would disrespect the Lulan royalty. "Are you done?" Yi Futian looked at them and said, "If you're done, scram." The three all stared at Yi Futian, expressions cold. This guy was as arrogant as before. "I'll see how long you can hide," Zhao Han said as they left. "Hide?" Yi Futian smirked. These guys really were waiting. After a few more days, Yi Wuchen finally came out. His temperament had changed, becoming purer. Even if he didn't release any aura, he gave one the impression of being a sword. "How's the cultivation?" Yi Futian asked. "I'm at the 5th level now. My sword intent is more complete too." Yi Wuchen's voice was calm. "I see." Yi Futian nodded. He left and found Lulan Shui, requesting her to seal all news about the palace. That day, Qian Yang's group was still waiting for Yi Futian. He was in a bad mood. Yi Futian was really good at hiding. He didn't show any sign of leaving the palace, even after all these days. However, Qian Yang took the time to cultivate too. The Lulan royalty hadn't kicked them out. Just then, a figure walked into the pavilion quietly. His steps weren't fast. They had some sort of rhythm, entering the pavilion step by step. Before long, he stood before Qian Yang's group. Qian Yang, Zhao Han, Shi Tong, and the other two were together, discussing something. Now, they all looked forward. There was a one-armed figure. He walked quietly, his right hand holding a sword pointed downward. He made his way over to Qian Yang's group. They were bewildered. What did Yi Wuchen want? He'd really forced his way into the pavilion, killing someone with each strike. He was so brazen. Chapter 185 Qian Yang's Death. Chapter 185 Qian Yang's Death. Yi Wuchen stood there looking sharp as a sword. He eyed the 5 people in front of him. Leave or die. These past days, Qian Yang had made his attitude very clear. They were waiting for Yi Futian's group to leave the palace so they could steal the treasures they acquired from the relic. They had even come out and admitted to it. Qian Yang had nothing to hide. In the time that Yi Futian left for the outside world, Qian Yang kept a close eye on them. They were his prey. If so, then there was no need for discussion. If Qian Yang and his people left, then it would be a happy ending for both parties. If they didn't, then they were the enemy and one party had to die. As always, Yi Wuchen was not much of a talker. In a few simple words, he had already made his point clear. Qian Yang and the others were surprised by Yi Wuchen's words. They were all top-level Dharma plane cultivators. Even if Yi Wuchen had a ritual implement, how was he going to close the gap between himself and Qian Yang's group? Yi Wuchen probably wouldn't even be able to take down just Zhao Han. Furthermore, Qian Yang's powers were boosted by the noble fate he possessed. It was enough for him to kill any ordinary top-level Dharma plane cultivator instantly. "Is your brain failing after losing your arm?" Shi Tong asked coldly. "Young Master Qian," He's the one picking a fight, so if he dies here the Virgin can't blame us, right? Chuckled Yu Linglong. Zhao Han, kill him and the sword is yours, said Qian Yang. Thank you, young Master Qian, nodded Zhao Han. He was thinking the same thing. He and Yi Wuchen were both swordsmen. Yi Wuchen's sword was going to be his. Stepping forward, Zhao Han released a dominating force of sword intent. Behind him, swords appeared. All of them unsheathed loudly and floated in the air behind Zhao Han. Since you're asking for death, I'll give it to you. Zhao Han's eyes were cold. Everyone could feel his murderous intent. Zhao Han was the son of the clan master of the Futian sword clan. Although he was gifted, he was completely defeated by Yi Futian, Yu Sheng, and Yi Wuchen at the grotto. That event made him feel utterly humiliated. Yi Wuchen was a swordsman just like him but was more gifted. However, it was a shame because no matter how gifted he was, he still had to die. The sword dharmas behind Zhao Han shot out like flashes of lightning. The blades reflected in the daylight. The gleams of light from the swords were blinding. A deafening noise erupted, and in the blink of an eye, all the swords whistled through the wind headed straight for Yi Wuchen. Almost at the exact same time, sword intent exploded from Yi Wuchen's body. A formless flow of air wrapped around his body. With him at the center, a terrifying sword storm brewed. It was frightening to hear the sound the swords made as they cut through the air. When Zhao Han's swords approached, they were all destroyed by the air created by Yi Wuchen's swords. Zhao Han walked forward and with every step he took, his sword intent grew stronger. The swords came endlessly from behind him. It was as if they wanted to drown Yi Wuchen in an ocean of swords. The sword in Yi Wuchen's hand twirled slightly before charging forward. Any swords that came his way was destroyed. Zhao Han was still on the move. A sword also appeared in his hand. His body was guided by the sword, moving quickly. Suddenly, there was a gleam of light. The gleaming of a sword. The bright light caused Yi Wuchen to close his eyes. In the next moment, the light grew brighter. Not only was it bright, it was also cold. It cut through the air and towards Yi Wuchen. That's a quick sword, Yu Linglong exclaimed. Zhao Han was indeed the clan master's son. His abilities were not to be doubted. With the appearance of this sword, Yi Wuchen was bound to get hurt. It was a dead end for him. He released a force of sword intent which rushed into the sword in his hand. He waved the sword into the air. Swords fell like the rain. The light reflected off the blades resembled stars in the night sky. It was as if a meteor shower had struck the area. The chillingly bright light from Zhao Han's sword was drowned out by the meteor shower of swords. Yi Wuchen's sword cut through the light of Zhao Han's sword, destroying it. When the two swords met, everything stopped. Zhao Han stopped moving as well. He stood not far from Yi Wuchen. He lifted his head to look at Yi Wuchen with wide eyes. In his eyes were looks of shock, despair, and regret. In the following moment, he was bleeding from every orifice. His entire body was quickly covered in blood. When Qian Yang and the others saw Zhao Han hit the ground, they finally lost the relaxed expressions on their faces. Their carefree smiles had disappeared long ago. Dumbfounded and scared, all they could do was stare at Zhao Han's body on the ground. And then, there was the one-armed figure who stood silently, releasing Noble Fate. Noble Fate. Shi Tong stared at Yi Wuchen. When had he accomplished this? Furthermore, it was mid-level Noble Fate along with the pure sword will. Bathed in this force of will, Yi Wuchen was lethal like the sharpest sword in the world. Yi Wuchen's level of cultivation had increased, he was now a 5th level Dharma plane cultivator. Before, this level of cultivation was nothing in their eyes, but having a pure noble level sword will on top of that was something to be afraid of. It was enough to allow Yi Wuchen to fight those in higher planes. The noble level will would boost his powers greatly. What's more, Yi Wuchen also possessed a ritual implement. An implement that once contained a noble will. Yi Wuchen's own noble will had been activated. He was going to be able to unleash the full power of the ritual implement. With 2 forces of noble will, his sword was going to be the most powerful sword in all of the Dharma plane. If he wasn't powerful, then he never would have made it out alive from the fight with Li Daoyun, though he did lose an arm. But with Li Daoyun's abilities, losing an arm was a light price to pay for his life. Now, Yi Wuchen was much stronger than he was when he fought Li Daoyun. He had made it into the next level with a pure will. Both of these things greatly improved his abilities. Whoosh! Yi Wuchen was on the move. As he moved, the entire area seemed to have been covered by a force of will. Qian Yang and the three others released their dharmas. Seeing that Yi Wuchen was getting close, Shi Tong of the true martial clan stepped out. A giant axe appeared in his hand, followed by a loud noise. A fearsome energy pushed down on the surrounding area. An enormous figure appeared behind Shi Tong. In his hand was also a big axe. The figure swung the weapon down at Yi Wuchen, wanting to kill him with a single swing. The glimmer of a blade shot past, and along with it was a cold breeze. Following that, a crack had actually formed on Shi Tong's axe. A low sound was heard before blood spilled from the cut on his neck. There was no stop to the blood flow. Yi Wuchen's body turned into an afterimage and headed straight for Yu Linglong right after killing Shi Tong. Yu Linglong's facial expression changed immediately after she realized that Shi Tong could not even withstand one attack from Yi Wuchen. Her eyes became seductive. She looked at Yi Wuchen and an illusory figure appeared in his mind instantly. There, Yu Linglong walked toward him. The clothes on her body fell to the ground one by one. She was bewitching and flirtatious. In a seductive tone, she asked, "Can you really bear to kill me?" She specialized in illusions and was a spirit elemental illusionary sorcerer. The mirages she created were strong. Her specialty was in male and female relations. It was difficult for those under her spell to pull themselves out. In Yi Wuchen's mind, all that was left on her body was a see-through piece of clothing. He could very faintly see what was underneath. She was so captivating, enough to make anyone lose focus. However, the Yi Wuchen now had a strong will, a noble level will. Countless swords appear in his mind and raced towards the sexy body. The illusionary figure had been destroyed. Some noise sounded and Yu Linglong's beautiful eyes were frozen in place. All the color drained from her face. She was an illusionary sorcerer, but her defense skills couldn't even catch up to that of Shi Tong's. So, if Shi Tong was killed, then she was not going to end up any better. Yi Wuchen had killed 2 people in one go. Presently, only 2 people remained from the group of 5, Qian Yang and Dugu Leng. Qian Yang did not look too good. His noble fate built up inside as he stared directly at Yi Wuchen, whose noble level sword will had released. Yi Wuchen did not seem like a 5th level Dharma plane cultivator at all. He was most definitely not any weaker than Qian Yang. Qian Yang's noble fate was of the lower level and was mixed. It had yet to form any type of pure will. Yi Wuchen moved closer to the 2 with his sword in hand. A powerful force of noble will was released, making Yi Wuchen look even scarier. A terrifying force of energy also released from Qian Yang. Lightning, fire, sword, and powers of other elements were released. In addition to the noble fate, Qian Yang was definitely not someone Zhao Han and Shi Tong could be compared to. Behind Qian Yang, Dugu Leng had a chilling energy revolving around him. He held a scimitar in his hand and was bursting with an incredible energy. Yi Wuchen flew into the air and lifted his sword. An endless amount of will erupted. Right now, Yi Wuchen seemed to have transformed into a true noble and even had the majestic feel of an emperor. This was because his will was inherited from a powerful emperor. Just then, all the air flow seemed to have gathered by his sword. Everything seemed to be at his mercy. Yi Wuchen's aura was getting stronger and stronger. The sword in his hand turned into the emperor's sword. Qian Yang also had noble fate, though it was of the lower level. But with his own abilities, he was going to be just as strong. Yi Wuchen was going to have to give it his all. Finally, Yi Wuchen's sword swung down. The emperor's sword controlled everything around. Air gathered around the sword, moving along to its every movement and swung down on Qian Yang below. From Qian Yang, swords of both thunder and fire elements shot into the sky, and instantly, a thunder dragon and a fire dragon roared loudly. Sorcery and swordsman skills were combined together. 2 forces clashed together and Qian Yang shouted, "Dugu Leng." At his call, Dugu Leng bounded into action. A force of energy erupted, was followed by cracking noises. Qian Yang shook violently and his complexion paled. His aura was withdrawn. His swords fell straight out of the skies. Dugu Leng retreated right away. A shocking gash appeared on Qian Yang's back. He shivered in pain and turned around. Looking at Dugu Leng, He asked, "Why?" Dugu Leng did not look at him. Instead, he lifted his head to speak to Yi Wuchen. "His father is my teacher. When I get back to Qinmeng, I will report to him that Qian Yong and Zhao Han were killed by those from the barren city." Yi Wuchen looked at him but did not say anything. "If you kill me as well, Ancient Lulin will help keep all this a secret, but my teacher will still investigate. He's bound to find clues to lead him to the truth." Dugu Leng continued, "That injury on his back is evidence that I also had a hand in his death. Naturally, I will keep this secret for the rest of my life." Qian Yong glared at Dugu Leng and fell to the ground with despair and anger in his eyes. He was definitely not going to be resting in peace. Chapter 186 Very Likeable. Chapter 186, Very Likeable. Yi Wuchen stood in the air. Sword intent flowed across his body, his eyes stared at Dugu Leng. Qian Yong possessed noble fate and was at the pinnacle of the Dharma plane. Even without a ritual implement, he could still fight Yi Wuchen. However, because of Dugu Leng, Qian Yong died before he could even release his true abilities. He'd died unjustly and unwillingly. Of course, Yi Wuchen didn't pity him. He only felt that Dugu Leng was extremely cold-blooded. He'd stabbed Qian Yong while he was fighting Yi Wuchen without any hesitation. And Yi Wuchen must admit that his words had been logical. After the relic, everyone else left. No one knew that Yi Futian and Qian Yang's groups remained in the palace. As long as the people of ancient Lulin helped keep it a secret, no one outside would know. Yi Futian had the Virgin keep news in as well. News wouldn't spread, which was why he did it. But if Qian Yang's group vanished, the Qinmeng area would definitely investigate and find some things out. If Dugu Leng could cooperate and blame it on the barren city, it would be even more perfect. As to how to keep it a secret, Dugu Leng definitely had his own tactics if he'd decided to do this. Yun Qinmo is a flaw, Yi Wuchen said. She knew about the rivalry. Actually, if he killed Qian Yong, he didn't fear the ancient barren world's revenge. The Qinmeng area wasn't capable of it. He only feared that they would take out their anger on the Kangye kingdom. Since Yun Qinmo agreed to be your servant, it's clear she's ambitious. My master only has one son. After Qian Yang's death, it's most possible that I'll inherit the position of lord. With Zhao Han's death, if she's willing to ally with me, she may inherit the top position of the Sword Clan, Dugu Leng said. She's smart, and I'm more convincing of the two. Dugu Leng was able to complete the 13 steps of death in the Noble Grotto. His talent was undeniable. Yi Wuchen fell silent, and the sword intent disappeared. You better do what you said. I naturally know what to do, Dugu Leng said. With the talent of you three, I don't wish to become your enemy even if I become the lord of the Qinmeng area. He'd witnessed their talent in the Noble Grotto. He couldn't kill them. He'd be the one to die. Qian Yong and the others' deaths today were the best proof. Qian Yong had wanted to use Yi Futian, but look at his demise. As an orphan, Dugu Leng had had it much harder than Qian Yong. He knew to observe and was more cold-blooded. Otherwise, he wouldn't survive until now. Go, Yi Wuchen said. He must admit that he'd been persuaded and Yun Qinmo truly was a flaw. It would be most suitable for Dugu Leng to take care of her. Goodbye. Dugu Leng turned and left. No one stopped him. After he left, Lulin Shui appeared. Yi Futian and Yu Sheng also came. Yi Futian hadn't come out because he believed that Yi Wuchen would perform well. He didn't say anything before, Yu Sheng said. Of the five, Dugu Leng had the least sense of existence. Even though his talent was equal to Qian Yong, it was easy to overlook him. That kind is the most dangerous, Yi Futian said. Virgin, can you help me? He asked Lulin Shui. With what? Lulin Shui looked at him. Help me send men to Qinmeng City and keep an eye on them, Yi Futian said. He was involved with Dugu Leng now, but he still must be careful. He had to see if Dugu Leng could successfully keep things a secret. Qian Yang's death would spread to Qinmeng City sooner or later. Then they'd know the situation. Okay. Lulin Shui understood Yi Futian's motive. She nodded. We'll cultivate for a while and wait for their news. Then we'll head towards the barren city, Yi Futian said to the others. Naturally, no one opposed. The barren city was the center of the Eastern Barren Territory. The surrounding area was the entrance to the various forces of the Eastern Barren Territory. They all ruled over one part and fought inside the barren city. There would be many strong cultivators there, such as those equal to ancient Lulan. This may be their last stop in the ancient barren world. After traveling to the barren city, they would leave. There, Yi Futian would try to get rid of the threat of Luo Junlin joining the royal Zan temple. Months later, Yi Xiao returned to the Kangye palace with strong cultivators protecting him. When Emperor Yi had brought them to the ancient barren world, we'd sent strong cultivators to wait for them. Everyone knew about Emperor Luo's desire to kill Yi Futian. He'd expressed his determination at the Tingfeng banquet. If Emperor Luo didn't want to go all out, he wouldn't act personally. However, Emperor Yi still had to be careful. Thus, he posted strong cultivators at the gate to the ancient barren world. In addition, the war between Kangye and Nando had intensified to the extreme. Emperor Yi always had his eyes on Emperor Luo. Since Yi Xiao was back, Emperor Yi obviously went to meet him. Now, the talents of the Kangye College also entered the palace with Yi Xiao. How was the trip? Emperor Yi asked, looking at the group. The ancient barren world is filled with talents and prides. Now I know how big the world is. The Kangye kingdom has many talents as well, but they're nothing there. Yi Xiao sighed. Father, I must work harder. It's good that you know it. Emperor Yi nodded. It seemed that he had not received noble fate. Luo Junlin truly was talented to receive it. What about Futian and Wuchen? Did they not come back? He asked. Hearing the question, Yi Xiao furrowed his brows. He started to speak but then stopped. Seeing his expression, Emperor Yi asked, speak straightforwardly. Father, Yi Futian is an outsider, after all. No matter how talented he is, aren't you leading trouble in? Yi Xiao asked Emperor Yi. In the ancient barren world, he disrespected me just because of his talent and wouldn't travel with me. Yi Wuchen is also a pride of the Fenghua banquet, and they became closer while I became the outsider. Emperor Yi's eyes flashed. He glanced at the others. They all kept quiet as if silently agreeing with Yi Xiao's words. I see. Go rest now, Emperor Yi said indifferently. Yes. Yi Xiao nodded and retreated. Summon Yi Danshan and Yi Lingxi, Emperor Yi said to his guard after Yi Xiao left. After a while, they arrived. Emperor Yi saw them and repeated what Yi Xiao had said. Then he asked, what do you think? Yi Futian is proud, but he's not like that. Regardless of whether brother is a prince, he owes you and wouldn't do that, Yi Danshan said. I agree. At the Fenghua banquet, Yi Futian requested to heal his master while Yu Sheng requested to find his master. Later, they all worked hard for this at the Nando Nation's Tingfeng banquet, Yi Lingxi said. Father, you wouldn't treat him so well if not for his disposition, right? Emperor Yi's treatment towards Yi Futian was practically perfect. He'd accepted Hua Jieyu as goddaughter and practically declared war with Emperor Luo because of Yi Futian, leading to a true war, despite Luo Junlin being accepted by a force from the eastern barren territory. If Emperor Yi only valued Yi Futian for his talent and he turned out to be heartless, what could he do if the Kangye kingdom was at risk? So you two think Yi Xiao is lying? Emperor Yi asked. Yi Danshan lowered his head. Yi Lingxi fell silent too. This was a sensitive matter, after all. If that is the case, Yi Xiao must have done something extremely antagonizing to Yi Futian, Emperor Yi said quietly. If not, Yi Xiao had no need to report and offend Yi Futian. Yi Xiao wouldn't act as the tattletale unless something happened between them. In addition, Yi Xiao cultivated at the Kangye College. It was normal for them to be close, but if they lied to the crown together. At that time, someone outside called, Your Majesty, Princess Jieyu requests admittance. Let Jieyu in, Emperor Yi said. He looked outside and saw Hua Jieyu walk in. Hua Jieyu was as beautiful and elegant as before. Her demeanor had become more extraordinary as well. Emperor Yi knew that Hua Jieyu had been cultivating with the imperial advisor and she'd had many physical changes. She also improved quite a lot. Godfather, Hua Jieyu greeted, bowing. Jieyu, I've said that you don't need to bow like an outsider. Futian isn't even as polite as you, Emperor Yi said with a smile. Godfather, I heard that the eldest prince has returned, Hua Jieyu said. Emperor chuckled. Are you here for news about Futian? Yes. Hua Jieyu nodded. Yi Futian didn't return with Yi Xiao. He must still be in the ancient barren world. Yi Shao isn't good at cultivation, so he returned early, Emperor Yi said. Godfather, I wish to go to the ancient barren world. Hua Jieyu gazed at Emperor Yi with her pretty eyes. No, even though you've improved greatly, you're still only in the second-level Dharma plane. He went before even entering the Dharma plane, Hua Jieyu said. Plus, I just can't enter the third level. I wish to test myself in the ancient barren world too. Emperor Yi looked at Hua Jieyu's eyes and nodded. All right, Danshan and Lingxi will go with you. In addition, I'll have men protect you. Don't cause trouble in the ancient barren world. Thanks, Godfather. Hua Jieyu smiled and nodded. She left soon. After knowing that she would enter the ancient barren world, Hua Fengliu immediately refused. Jieyu, Futian is really smart. You shouldn't be worried. I really am worried, Hua Jieyu said. It's been so long, but he won't come back to see me. Seeing Hua Jieyu's expression, Hua Fengliu suddenly understood. He said, Jieyu, Futian looks like a playboy, but he won't do anything. Don't be worried. I trust him but not other girls, Hua Jieyu muttered. That boy is so bad. He's really likable. Hua Fengliu couldn't reply. Chapter 187 Barren City, Mirror Mountain. Chapter 187. Barren City, Mirror Mountain. The Barren City was the heart of the ancient barren world. It was also the most majestic ancient city with a very long history. All the top talents from all over the eastern barren territory were grouped in the Barren City. No matter how talented a foreigner was, they didn't dare go wild here. The slightest mistake could insult a disciple of a top force and then they wouldn't even know how they died. Thus, the disciples of the top forces were the absolute stars in this glamorous city. The others were just the sidekicks. The disciples of top forces would often fight each other in the city. At this time, a group walked down the cobblestone road. They stood out from the crowd. The one in the center was around 17 or 18 years old. He was extremely handsome with a perpetual smile on his face. The smile was extremely effective on girls. On his left was a muscular man. He looked intimidating and was very burly. He seemed to be filled with endless power. On his right was a one-armed youth. He had a sword slung across his back. His eyes were sharp. He was definitely a powerful swordsman in training. Behind the three were two girls. They were both extremely beautiful, especially the girl on the right. Her silver hair was like snow, and she was as beautiful as a fairy. Her aura was cold. Behind them followed a group of men, seemingly guards. Passers-by would definitely take a second glance at a group like these, wondering if they were disciples of some top force in the Eastern Barren Territory. The only thing that stood out was the Black Wind Eagle. How could such a powerful group ride such a common demon? It wasn't good enough. Naturally, this group was Yi Futian and the others. Lulin Shui had followed them, as per the Empress' orders. She didn't even have her people with her. Yi Futian found it strange but he couldn't say anything. Did you find out? Yi Futian asked Lin Yuyao now. Yes, Lin Yuyao nodded while glaring at Yi Futian. After arriving in the barren city, he'd told her to find out information whenever something happened. It seemed that she'd taken Yun Qinmo's role as the maid after Yun Qinmo left. It was annoying. Lead the way, Yi Futian said nonchalantly, seeming to not see Lin Yuyao's resentful eyes. The group climbed onto the Black Wind Eagle. It rode with the wind and traveled through the air. There were many demons above the barren city. They all went to different places and didn't disturb each other. Lin Yuyao and Lulin Shui's beauty occasionally attracted some gazes but no one bothered them. After some time, they arrived at the heart of the city. The buildings here were even more magnificent. There were more demons too, as well as strong cultivators. Lin Yuyao held a map and pointed towards somewhere. Gradually, an extremely tall mountain appeared in their vision. This mountain stood in the heart of the city but it didn't seem awkward at all. Instead, there was a sacred aura about it. Many people were heading towards it. As the Black Wind Eagle continued, they approached the mountain. They could see a huge stone monument before the mountain. It was very eye-catching with 3 giant words carved on it, Ancient Barren World. These words were carved in the stone monument. This was where the name of this place came from. We're here, Yi Futian mumbled to himself. The Black Wind Eagle continued to the top of the mountain and landed before the stone monument. There were countless people before the monument more than 100 meters tall. The three words, ancient barren world, seemed to have some attractive force, making one stare at it involuntarily. Not far from the monument, there were steps leading up the mountain. Many people were climbing like a pilgrimage. "Let's go," Yi Futian said. Then he followed the many others and climbed the stone steps. He followed the steps to the end where he was even with the stone monument. The mountaintop was very flat as if the peak had been sliced off. It was a hugely vast area filled with activity and people. When Yi Futian and the others stepped onto it, a gust of fate hit their faces. Yi Futian gazed around and his heart jumped. Just as he'd found out, Mirror Mountain had everything a cultivator would want. There were many different regions in this vast space. Each region seemed to contain a relic. Some people were playing chess. The game was extremely deep as if it contained sophisticated matrices. Some people were painting. Their paintings could communicate with the skies and earth. Some people were playing instruments, others were transcribing. Everyone in each region was cultivating and communicating with the noble intent to build a fate. Thud. At that time, there was a huge sound. Yi Futian felt a terrible force. He looked over towards the source and saw a line of drums. Someone was hitting the battle drums powerfully. As the booms sounded without stop, more drums sounded as well. It created an even more terrifying force. There was another thunderous boom. Yi Futian looked elsewhere. There was a region of thunder. Other than that, there were some noble statues on the mountain. They contained terrible intent power. Many people were cultivating before them. People were cultivating and studying in each region of this vast space. They all came from the various top forces of the Eastern Barren Territory. The mountaintop was a flourishing scene. As expected of the barren city's heart, Yi Futian muttered. Cultivators of any type could accomplish something here. He slowly turned his gaze and looked forward. In the distance, there was a side of the mountain that was smooth like a mirror. This was the famous Mirror Mountain stone wall of the barren city. Its mysteries were endless and could even test a cultivator's talent. In addition, the various top forces had all left powerful spells on the wall. When a strong cultivator went there and awakened the wall with their noble intent, the forces would be able to see what happened here. Yi Futian didn't know if Luo Junlin had come, but here, he could get rid of the threat Luo Junlin posed. Not only does that stone wall let people of the Eastern Barren Territory see noble fate, it also contains many mysteries, Lin Yuyao said. It can test talent. Other than noble fate, strange phenomena appear when a cultivator senses the power within. Phantom noble images appear on the wall. The more talented someone is, the more images will appear. Lin Yuyao had been the one to get the information after arriving in the barren city, so she was the most knowledgeable about it. She'd been upset about this for a long while. How could Yi Futian order her around like a servant? But when she said those words, she was slightly anticipatory inside. When Luo Junlin had received noble fate, he'd been accepted by the royal Zan temple. Now, Yi Futian, Yu Sheng, and Yi Wuchen were at least equal to Luo Junlin. Yi Wuchen had already been at the mid-level noble fate during the battle in the Lulin Palace months ago. If the trio went to display their talent at the Mirror Mountain stone wall and was seen by the top forces, she couldn't even imagine what the Kangye kingdom would be like then. The three would all be accepted by top forces. That much was indisputable. Thinking of how all emperors went to congratulate Luo Junlin when he was accepted by the royal Zan temple, she started anticipating what may happen at the Kangye kingdom. What would Emperor Luo's expression be like at that time? Emperor Yi of the Kangye kingdom had done much for Yi Futian. He was even willing to go to war with Emperor Luo. He must be very proud of his foresight. Thinking of this, Lin Yuyao's eyes fell upon Yi Futian. Grinning, she urged, "Won't you go show off? You have to be low-key, you know." Yi Futian replied nonchalantly. Lin Yuyao pouted. Since when was this guy low-key? There is so much noble fate on this mountain. We can't waste it. Yi Futian looked around and smiled brightly. To him, all these relics were giving away noble fate for free. Lin Yuyao's eyes flashed. She was speechless. She didn't know what level Yi Futian's noble fate was now, but if Yi Wuchen was at mid-level, Yi Futian shouldn't be any lower. He had received 2 precious books in the Lulin relic. He'd also taken the most treasured book in the entire ancient Lulin. He probably received very powerful fate. All right, everyone choose the place most suitable for you. Yi Futian smiled, and everyone nodded. Yi Wuchen walked towards somewhere. A moment later, he arrived before a sword matrix. The sword matrix was extremely frightening and contained endless sword intent. No one dared to enter brashly. However, there was someone sitting inside quietly. He let the endless sword intent pass through him. He guided the sword into him and cultivated. Shocking sword intent flowed across his body. Apparently, someone beside him said, all disciples of the Futian sword clan that enter the ancient barren world to train would come here to make the sword test their bodies. No one has ever failed. Li Daoqing is one of the prides of the clan. He obviously won't fail. Apparently, his brother Li Daoyun is just as accomplished. Yi Wuchen's eyes glinted instantly and looked at the youth inside the sword matrix. Chapter 188 Lu Chanu. Chapter 188, Lu Chanu. Li Daoyun's brother. Yi Wuchen's arm had been chopped off by Li Daoyun. He didn't expect such a coincidence, but he quickly composed himself. He walked quietly into the sword matrix as if he didn't know the other. In an instant, many sword marks lit up inside the matrix and surged towards him. He sat cross-legged, sword intent wrapped around him. When endless sword intent from the matrix came at him, he didn't fight back. Instead, he guided it into him. There was faint emperor's intent about him. The sword intent within him was like the king of swords. It guided the murderous intent into itself and flowed throughout his body. The weak would be destroyed by sword intent, the strong could use it. This was the difference. Yu Sheng walked before the battle drums. There were 9 sides and booms came endlessly. Someone stood before the drums and beat them. The first hit, one side sounded. The second hit, the power could extend from the back and make 2 sides sound. The third could make 3 sides sound. Each time, a horrible power would reverberate back and become stronger, multiplying. After the third time, it was already very frightening. Yu Sheng watched and saw that most people could only make 5 sides sound. He walked up before the battle drum and pounded with his fist. There was a boom, and the drum shook. However, it didn't stop. Yu Sheng punched it again, and the booms sounded. A burst of power and reverberations rushed at Yu Sheng, but he seemed not to feel it. He punched a third time. The booms were endless. The drums seemed to go wild in an instant. A horrible power exploded with the strength. Hearing the densely packed sounds, many looked over. Yi Futian, who had walked elsewhere, looked over too and rolled his eyes. Couldn't he be more low-key? Who beat drums like this? The fourth side sounded. It practically created shockwaves, and many were speechless. Compared to Yu Sheng, the others had been too gentle. A burst of aggressive power and strength converged into a horrible storm. It beat crazily on Yu Sheng's body, but he just roared and punched again. His burly body stood upright like the god of war. The moment of his 5th punch, there seemed to be a storm surrounding him. All the intent power rushed into his body, putting it through a trial. There were continuous cracking sounds. A dark golden armor appeared. Endless strength surged inside Yu Sheng's body. He punched again. It was like thunder, and everyone looked over. Very few people could make such a commotion with the battle drums. Lin Yuyao was speechless too. Did he have to do this so soon? Boom. Noble fate rose up in Yu Sheng. Now, he seemed to be covered in a demon's armor. He punched a 7th time. Power rolled in the air domineeringly. Even Yu Sheng's powerful body was forced back. He grunted, blood coming out of his mouth. But he didn't give up. He stepped forward again like a wild demon. He punched again. This time, the people cultivating in the area were all shocked awake. Their eardrums vibrated. As for Yu Sheng, his body cracked. The power seemed to want to destroy him. He opened his mouth and roared. Veins bulged all over him. A terrible power poured into him. Yu Sheng was forced back, and he spat out fresh blood. However, his fate was changing as if there was a storm of fate. Gradually, it became purer and more terrifying. The drum was still going, unable to stop reverberating. There was another boom. Yu Sheng actually continued forward. Before the drum stopped, he beat it for the 9th time. With this boom, the drum shook 9 times, and the 9 sides resonated at once. Many people shook inwardly. Then, a burst of destructive power rushed into Yu Sheng's body. There was no suspense. Yu Sheng flew out, and his dark gold armor cracked. Blood flowed from his lips, and he crashed onto the ground. He didn't seem to feel anything. He quickly climbed up and sat there, cultivating. This idiot, Yi Futian muttered. He understood Yu Sheng's intent, of course. Yu Sheng had seen the immense power in the battle drums. To quickly create mid-level noble fate, he forced himself forward. He used the drum's intent to challenge his body, even willing to destroy it. How crazy, many people thought. Yi Futian didn't cultivate. He walked to Yu Sheng to help him. Many people looked over. Some even walked over and studied Yu Sheng curiously. After a long while, Yu Sheng finished cultivating. Opening his eyes, he saw Yi Futian and grinned. Yi Futian glared at him. At this time, Yi Wuchen also walked over. He asked Yu Sheng, "How are you?" "Same as you now," Yu Sheng said, laughing. The intent within the drum was very pure. He used this power to challenge his body and fate. Now, he'd comprehended pure noble intent and power. It was mid-level noble fate. With his natural talent in strength, he'd used the drum's strength and was successful within a short period. Now, Lin Yuyao walked over. She gazed at Yi Wuchen with a strange look as if she was stopping herself from speaking. "What's wrong?" Yi Futian asked, seeing Lin Yuyao's expression. "I heard people discuss that Li Daoyun's brother is here," Lin Yuyao said quietly. Yi Futian's eyes flashed and stared at her. "I know." Yi Wuchen nodded calmly. "You know." Yi Futian looked at him. "Yes, I cultivated with him in the sword matrix," Yi Wuchen said calmly. "I'm not in a hurry for some things. Plus, the one who took my arm is Li Daoyun. You are a man of principle." Yi Futian looked at him and then looked around. He found where Li Daoking was. He naturally saw who Yi Wuchen had cultivated with earlier. "I'm going to see what's in the Mirror Mountain stone wall," Yi Wuchen said. He started walking towards the stone wall. Yi Futian and the others followed. He was curious how the stone wall would test talent. Arriving at the stone wall, Yi Wuchen sat down cross-legged. His noble intent rushed directly onto the wall. Instantly, the wall flashed brilliantly. A powerful aura enveloped him. The stone wall seemed to turn illusory. It was like a mirror that emanated with a strange aura. Yi Wuchen closed his eyes. Yi Futian could see sword intent bloom crazily from him. His noble fate was released to the extreme too, as if he was fighting. Soon, a noble figure appeared on the stone wall, like a picture printed on it. After this appeared, Yi Wuchen's aura grew even more terrifying. He was sitting there but sword aura went crazy around him. After a while, a huge battle seemed to have ended. A second noble figure appeared on the stone wall. So powerful, many people had to say. It was very difficult to make two figures appear. The requirements for that to happen were very strict. Many people walked over and looked at Yi Wuchen. Who was this group? Earlier, Yu Sheng had pounded the drums. Now, Yi Wuchen was testing his talent at the Mirror Mountain stone wall. He had mid-level noble fate and could make two figures appear. Yi Wuchen was still persevering. Sword intent rose up around him terrifyingly. After a while, he grunted. The sword intent flowing through him disappeared, and he opened his eyes. The Mirror Mountain stone wall returned to normal. No one mocked him. Instead, they were impressed. His talent was definitely powerful if he could receive mid-level noble fate and make two figures appear on the stone wall at only the 5th level Dharma plane. "Are you from the Fuyun sword clan?" Someone came up and asked. The speaker was a girl with average features. She looked at Yi Wuchen curiously. "No," he replied nonchalantly. "Someone with such powerful sword intent isn't from the Fuyun sword clan." "Then what clan are you from?" the girl asked. "Why?" Yi Wuchen looked at her. "If you haven't joined a powerful clan, our princess would like to invite you to join the Lu Kingdom," the girl said. Then she looked back at someone. A beautiful figure in a long green dress stood there. Her temperament was extraordinary, and she was beautiful. There was something elegant about her. Lu Chanu, princess of the Lu Kingdom. Everyone's hearts shuddered. It was also their first time seeing Lu Chanu in person. They didn't know this beautiful person was the princess of the Lu Kingdom. She nodded lightly at Yi Wuchen. Other than being a place for top talents to cultivate, the Mirror Mountain stone wall was also a place for those without clans to display their talent. Many of the Eastern Barren territory would come here after receiving noble fate. That was why Lu Chanu invited him. Yi Wuchen's talent was uncommon, and he already had mid-level noble fate. Yi Futian's eyes brightened. He didn't expect that they would get an invitation without even leaving the ancient barren world. Yi Wuchen seemed to be considering whether he should make the decision beforehand. "We'll consider it," Yi Futian said. They weren't in a hurry. They could decide after becoming familiar with the entire eastern barren territory. Lu Chanu nodded lightly and didn't say anything. At that time, Li Daoqing walked over to Lu Chanu. He said, "I am Li Daoqing of the Futian Sword Clan. Let me greet the princess in place of my brother." Many saw this and were shocked. It was rumored that Li Daoyun of the Futian Sword Clan was pursuing Lu Chanu. Now it seemed to be true. Becoming the princess's groom would be hard. Chapter 189 Slave. Chapter 189, Slave. Seeing Li Daoqing walk up, Yi Futian made a face. What was the relationship between the Futian Sword Clan and the Lu Kingdom? And Li Daoqing was greeting her on behalf of his brother. Did Li Daoyun know the Lu princess? Yi Futian walked to Yi Wuchen's side and muttered, "Wuchen, we're not familiar with the forces of the Eastern Barren Territory. That's why I rejected her proposal." With Yi Wuchen's abilities, there was no need to worry about getting accepted. "No need to explain," Yi Wuchen whispered. He knew that Yi Futian was explaining why he acted for him. Yi Futian nodded lightly. He walked up to the girl who invited Yi Wuchen. "She must be the Lu princess's servant. Does your princess know Li Daoyun of the Futian Sword Clan?" he asked. "You haven't heard." The servant looked Yi Futian, slightly shocked. "Heard what?" Yi Futian asked. "Our princess has many pursuers. Li Daoyun is one of them." The servant was a bit proud. This news wasn't any secret. Li Daoyun publicly pursued her princess. "Your princess didn't accept him?" Yi Futian continued asking. The servant studied him. "You have too many questions. The princess is such an extraordinary figure. I naturally grew curious." Yi Futian smiled brightly. His handsome face looked better with a smile. Seeing this handsome face, the servant murmured, "Li Daoyun is talented, but he's not undefeated in the Futian Sword Clan. He is not number one there. My princess is so precious. She can't accept so easily. Is the Futian Sword Clan or the Lu Kingdom more powerful?" Yi Futian continued. Seeing the servant's weird expression, he chuckled awkwardly. "We're not from here and look up to the forces of the ancient barren world. Can you tell me?" "They're both top forces of the Eastern Barren Territory," the servant said. "Oh," Yi Futian's eyes flashed. He glanced at Lu Chanu, princess of the Lu Kingdom, and smiled. "I didn't know how powerful the Lu Kingdom was, but now I've thought about it. Can you ask your princess if we can cultivate with you all? If we're suitable, we can join the Lu Kingdom. We didn't invite you." The servant pursed her lips and looked to Yi Wuchen. "Who is he to you?" "He's my young master. He's really talented," Yi Futian said. "He is indeed talented if he can possess mid-level noble fate. I will report to my princess," the servant said. Yi Futian nodded. "Thank you." With that, he returned to Yi Wuchen's side. Smiling, he said, "I sacrificed myself for you." Thankfully he was handsome. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to use a beauty trap to get information. Yi Wuchen looked at him strangely. "What did you two talk about?" "I helped you accept the Lu princess, but just to follow her temporarily," Yi Futian replied, smiling. "What are you planning?" Yi Wuchen didn't understand. "Do you find the princess pretty?" Yi Futian asked. Yi Wuchen nodded seriously. "Yeah, the more you look at her, the prettier she gets. It helps with your eyes to have a beauty beside you. If you interact with her more, you may develop feelings," Yi Futian said meaningfully. Beside them, Lulin Shui blinked her silver eyes. Wasn't this what the Empress had told them? Lin Yuyao pursed her lips. If feelings could be developed, why was she still treated like a servant? Was she not pretty? But what did that guy mean? Did he want to take action on the Lu Kingdom's princess? Yu Sheng gaped at Yi Futian. Without Hua Jiu here, Yi Futian was going wild. At this time, Lu Chanu received her servant's report. She looked over at Yi Wuchen and walked over. Her body was sexy, delicate, and also elegant. When she reached Yi Wuchen, she said, "Lu Chanu." Looking at the girl, Yi Wuchen couldn't act impolitely. He said, "Yi Wuchen. Who are they?" Lu Chanu glanced at the others. Were his servant and guard, Yi Futian said. Then he looked at Lin Yuyao and Lulan Shui. And maids. Lin Yuyao glared at Yi Futian. When did she really become a maid? However, Yi Futian had also become a servant this time. In that case, you can all cultivate with me in the ancient barren world from now on, Lu Chanu said. You are talented but seem to be in a low plane. I can aid you if you follow me. If you wish to join the Lu kingdom someday, you can tell me. With Yi Wuchen's talent, it would be great if he was willing to join the Lu kingdom. Yi Wuchen felt that he'd been tricked badly by Yi Futian. Looking at Lu Chanu's eyes, he could only nod. Congratulations, Your Highness, for receiving more subordinates, Li Daoqing, who hadn't left, said now. He was congratulating her but actually, he was insulting Yi Futian's group as if they were only subordinates. In reality, Lu Chanu hadn't said anything like that. But to Li Daoqing, his brother was pursuing Lu Chanu. If she brought Yi Wuchen's group with, they would definitely be subordinates. What else could they be? Yi Futian studied Li Daoqing. He was indeed similar to Li Daoyun. Seeing that Lu Chanu still wouldn't talk, Li Daoqing glanced at the others and said, "From now on, you must serve the princess wholeheartedly. If you have any needs, you may come to my brother or I as well." Lu Chanu frowned. Li Daoqing's words were exceeding his authority. Regardless of how she'd sent the invitation because she saw Yi Wuchen's talent, even if they were her subordinates, Li Daoqing didn't qualify to order them around. It was as if she and Li Daoyun had some close relationship. Yi Futian looked intrigued at Li Daoqing's words. He was looking for an excuse and now it was given to him. Li Daoyun wanted to pursue Lu Chanu. If that was the case, he'd like to see how Li Daoyun did it. "Princess, who is he?" Yi Futian asked, despite knowing the answer already. Li Daoqing of the Fuyun Sword Clan, Lu Chanu said. "Princess, this man's words have other meanings and destroy your reputation." "It's as if you're already theirs," Yi Futian said. "Would you like us to teach him a lesson for speaking so impolitely?" Hearing that, Li Daoqing stared at Yi Futian. His words indeed could have another meaning and might not have been that proper. But it was just a slip. He didn't mean to be impolite but after Yi Futian said that. "Shut up, I am speaking with the princess. There's no place for a slave like you," Li Daoqing growled. His eyes were sharp. He had heard Yi Futian say he was Yi Wuchen's guard. How could a guard be so brash as to ruin the relationship between him and the princess? "Li Daoqing, you are presumptuous," Lu Chanu said coldly. "Your Highness, that slave doesn't know his place. He dares to instigate us." "I don't mean any offense to you, Your Highness," Li Daoqing said. Lu Chanu scoffed. His words truly were easy to be misunderstood. There was no problem in saying he was impolite. "Princess, you heard it too. We can't bear this tone," Yi Futian said. Lu Chanu looked at him and said, "Li Daoqing is in the 5th level Dharma plane. He was from the Fuyun Sword Clan, was at the 5th level Dharma plane, and had noble fate. He was definitely a powerful fighter. Yi Futian was only Yi Wuchen's servant. How could he fight Li Daoqing? Unless Yi Wuchen fought. Only the 5th level Dharma plane," Yi Futian said confidently. Lu Chanu studied his expression. Did he really think he could defeat Li Daoqing at that young age? "Yu Sheng," Yi Futian called just as Lu Chanu thought he would fight personally. "Take revenge for the princess." "Okay." Yu Sheng stepped forward and took off his battle axe. He walked up. Li Daoqing flashed and shot into the air. Sword intent snaked all around him as he stared coldly at Yu Sheng and Yi Futian. Did they dare look down on him? The terrifying sword intent flowed, rushing towards Yu Sheng. The next moment, Yu Sheng stepped forward. There was a thud and he shot into the sky. His aggressive body flew at Li Daoqing with terrifying speed. "You're looking to die." Li Daoqing pointed in the air. Endless sword intent instantly swept towards Yu Sheng. It flowed, destroying everything. However, Yu Sheng hacked down with his battle axe. It seemed to cut the void apart. No matter how powerful the sword intent or swordsmanship was, it was all cut apart. The sword intent flowed wildly to the side, forcefully halved. Yu Sheng descended before Li Daoqing and there was no more suspense. Under Li Daoqing's shocked gaze, Yu Sheng didn't bring his axe down. Instead, he swept to the side. There was a crack and then a huge boom. Li Daoqing had been smashed to the ground with just one strike. Yu Sheng hadn't used all of his power either. Otherwise, he could kill Li Daoqing easily. Just as Li Daoqing tried to get up, there was another muffled thud. He was on the ground again. Yu Sheng had him under his feet. Slave, Li Daoqing's so-called slave, was stepping on him. The surrounding people all stared at this scene in shock. Li Daoqing was from the Futian sword clan. He was Li Daoyun's brother. How could he be treated like this? The rivalry had been set and the princess was involved as well. She most likely could not escape from it. Yi Futian watched this calmly. He didn't pity Li Daoqing at all. This was just collecting some interest from what Li Daoyun owed. Li Daoqing had come up by himself too. Chapter 190 I am the least competent. Chapter 190. I am the least competent. Li Daoqing was shocked. He felt pain all over his body, but what he couldn't bear was the humiliation. The Futian sword clan was respected by all. They enjoyed keeping to themselves and acting as they wished without any concerns. However, he was humiliated at this moment. The axe was a powerful ritual implement. How could Yu Sheng defeat him relying on the ritual implement? Lu Chanu was shocked too. Yu Sheng fought too violently with Li Daoqing and was rude to Li Daoyun as well. Princess, how could this kind of clown dare harass you? From now on, we will deal with them. Yi Futian took the credit immediately as if he was taking revenge for Lu Chanu. Lu Chanu glanced at Yi Futian with a strange look. You will die very miserably. Li Daoqing stared at Yi Futian from the ground. Haven't figured out the situation. Yi Futian looked at him strangely. Kill me if you have the guts. Li Daoqing's eyes were very fierce. Yi Futian didn't respond. Yu Sheng grabbed Li Daoqing's arm and yanked him up. He swung his strong arm and with a bang, Li Daoqing was smashed onto the ground, vomiting blood. Boom, boom, boom. Continuous explosions sounded. Everyone was stunned by the sight of the scene. In Yu Sheng's hands, Li Daoqing was smashed to the ground again and again. Every smash shook the spectators' hearts. When Yu Sheng stopped, Li Daoqing was already numb, but his eyes were still staring at Yu Sheng coldly with strong murderous intent. He climbed up with difficulty, his body trembling. For him, Yu Sheng's group was dead meat already. Go back and complain. Li Daoqing had stood up, but Yu Sheng sent him flying out with a kick. Li Daoqing's face turned livid and everyone was terrified. Yu Sheng's kick and words were definitely a great humiliation to Li Daoqing. Go back and complain. What a disgrace. Li Daoqing once again climbed up. He dragged his injured body away pathetically. Do you know the background of Futian sword clan? Lu Chanu asked Yi Futian beside her. Yes, Yi Futian said. Sooner or later, they would offend the clan. Of course, they would not really kill Li Daoqing at this moment. Yu Sheng knew his limits. Fighting was quite a normal thing. Even the humiliation was not worthy for the entire clan to act. But if they really killed Li Daoqing, the Futian sword clan would definitely take action. Why did Yi Futian come to the ancient barren world? It was to remove the threat posed by Luo Junline, which mainly came from Royal Zan Temple. They didn't have the confidence to kill Li Daoqing yet. The reason why they came to the barren city Mirror Hill Stone Wall was to prepare for this. Li Daoqing's senior brother, Li Daoyun, is the top talent of Futian sword clan with great achievement in Dharma. He is very strong, said Lu Chanu. Well, it seems that I have to enhance my ability too. Yi Futian laughed and said, Your Highness, you can have a talk with my young master now. Saying so, Yi Futian left. In the ancient barren world, one could borrow the power of many relics. There should be no problem with so many relics here. Moreover, this vast area was enough for them to practice for a long time. Seeing Yi Futian leave, Lu Chanu walked to Yi Wuchen and said with a smile, Servant, bodyguard, and maid. His servant didn't look like a servant, his bodyguard was not like a bodyguard, his maids were even less like maids. Their appearances could easily be compared with her. Who would believe they were maids? That guy likes to monkey around. Don't be bothered, Your Highness, Yi Wuchen said. So my guess is correct. Lu Chanu looked into his eyes. We are all brothers. What about them? Lu Chanu looked at Lu Lanzu and Lin Yuyao. Where were those two beautiful women from? You'll have to ask him. Yi Wuchen looked at Yi Futian. Lu Chanu's face changed. She immediately smiled and said, Your brother is really naughty. Naughty. Yi Wuchen murmured and then nodded. He indeed was naughty. So which clan do you all belong to? Lu Chanu gazed at Yi Wuchen. Since they dared to fight with Li Daoqing and were really gifted, they might be top talents from some top power that kept a low profile, so she didn't know them. The answer was quite important. The reason she admired Yi Wuchen's ability was his noble fate and talent. If Yi Wuchen really wanted to join the top cultivation, she would like to accept him. Meeting Lu Chanu's eyes, Yi Wuchen said, "We have nothing to hide about this. We do come from small powers, which is why we came here. We want to join top powers." Hearing this, Lu Chanu's expression changed a little. "However, there is one thing I want to tell you, princess. Actually, there are some grudges between Li Daoqing and I. My arm was chopped off by his brother, Li Daoyun," Yi Wuchen said in a quite calm tone, as if he was talking about something very normal. If Yi Futian heard what Yi Wuchen had said, he would complain that Yi Wuchen was too honest, but swordsmen were probably all like this. No matter from the aspect of talent or personality, Yi Wuchen was very suitable for swordsman's training. Lu Chanu's beautiful eyes flashed for the first time. She looked at Yi Wuchen with surprise. A few months ago, the 4 top powers in the Eastern Barren Territory went to Lulan City. Li Daoyun was among them. "You all come from Lulan City." Lu Chanu knew of this event. "No, we come from a farther place, but we were also trained in the ancient ruins of Lulan," Yi Wuchen responded. Li Daoyun's group of 4 went there for a bet with the relic of Lulan as their battlefield, but it ended in a draw. I heard that Li Daoyun was quite unsatisfied by the result. The relic treasure was found by someone else. Was it your group? Yes. Yi Wuchen nodded. Li Daoyun was at the peak of the Dharma rank and also had a ritual implement, but he only chopped down one of Yi Wuchen's arms. He didn't kill Yi Wuchen or even take the ritual implement. Now, these guys even came to the Barren City and beat up Li Daoqing when they met. They were really bold. So, it actually had nothing to do with your highness. Yi Wuchen was very frank. Lu Chanu observed Yi Wuchen. He and the swordsman from the Futian sword clan gave her different feelings. That guy said he would consider it and then agreed. Now I see it is because of Li Daoqing. Lu Chanu smiled and said, "So you actually haven't decided which power you want to join?" "We know little about the situation of Eastern Barren Territory," Yi Wuchen answered. "Then my country, the Lu Kingdom, would like to join the competition." Lu Chanu smiled, showing her breathtaking charm. "Moreover, it seems that I have some advantages now." In the distance, Yi Futian looked back and happened to catch Lu Chanu's smile. Chanu meant the charm of a great beauty, and she lived up to her name. Yi Futian looked at Yi Wuchen, smiling. He didn't expect that Yi Wuchen was a flirting master. He had been underestimating Yi Wuchen. Recomposing himself, Yi Futian looked at those statues before him. Using others' power was unreliable. Only by enhancing himself could he become strong enough to handle all. He believed that this relic was his battlefield. He had ensured himself about that many times in the ancient barren world. Many people were gathered here. Every statue here was special. The statue Yi Futian was observing at this moment was like the god of flame, emanating a flaming red breath from which a surging powerful intent could be felt. The statue beside it was the opposite. It contained a very strong icy aura, and approaching it would make one feel cold. In addition, there were statues of other attributes. Among them was a statue which was cast with swords, emanating a sharp aura. Everyone in this area was powerful. They looked at Yi Futian with interest. Does this man want to perceive those statues? Few people could actually do that. Lu Chanu noticed Yi Futian too. She said to Yi Wuchen, "Those statues are dangerous, shall we warn him about that?" "How dangerous?" Yi Wuchen asked curiously. "People without noble fate may not view them, or the consequence might be miserable." Lu Chanu looked at Yi Wuchen. "That's all right." Yi Wuchen was quite calm. Lu Chanu was amazed. Could it be that the servant had noble fate too? "Actually, of us 3, I am the least competent from every aspect of us 3, Yi Wuchen said to Lu Chanu. Lu Chanu was silent for a moment. Yi Wuchen was able to receive the noble fate at just the 5th level Dharma plane. There were 2 noble statues at the Mirror Mountain stone wall. According to Yi Wuchen, he was the least competent among the 3. Then what was the talent of that servant and so-called bodyguard? I have seen many swordsmen in training from Fuyun's sword clan. They are all very arrogant. It's rare to meet such a humble swordsman like you. Lu Chanu laughed. I am not being humble. Yi Wuchen shook his head. He looked into her eyes and said seriously, it's not just me. I haven't encountered many top talents of the Eastern Barren Territory yet, but I believe few of them could be compared with my friends. Hearing Yi Wuchen's serious tone, Lu Chanu gazed into his eyes. Even the top talents of Eastern Barren Territory couldn't be compared with Yi Futian and Yu Sheng. Yi Wuchen was somewhat too overconfident and arrogant. However, though their conversation, she believed that Yi Wuchen was not arrogant at all. So how could he say those words? Was he that confident in Yi Futian and Yu Sheng? Li Daoyun from the Fuyun sword clan can't actually be counted as the top talent of Eastern Barren Territory, said Lu Chenyan. Yi Wuchen had fought with Li Daoyun once. I know, otherwise, he wouldn't have been hurt by me, Yi Wuchen said calmly. Li Daoyun doesn't deserve to be compared with them from the aspect of talent. The figure in the distance stirred Lu Chanu's heart for the first time. Was he really as gifted as Yi Wuchen described? Chapter 191 There is Wind. Chapter 191 There is Wind. Lu Chanu's pretty eyes flashed. She could tell his nature from their conversation. He wasn't a braggart. Since he had complimented Yi Futian and Yu Sheng's talent, it was clear that they were extraordinary. However, Yi Wuchen said that the prides of the Eastern Barren Territory couldn't compare with them. Lu Chanu still didn't believe that. After all, she was one of those people. It wasn't that she was confident. She was just more familiar with the top forces than Yi Wuchen. He hadn't seen them before, so he might underestimate them. However, she was now curious about how strong Yi Futian and Yu Sheng were. I'll wait and see, Lu Chanu smiled. She was a bit excited. Yi Wuchen knew that Lu Chanu didn't believe him, but he told her because she left a good impression. She didn't seem upset after knowing the truth. Instead, she had even joined the competition. This made him think well of her. Whether they joined the Lu Kingdom or not, Lu Chanu could still be their friend. Yi Futian and Yu Sheng, on the other hand, all wished to take revenge for his lost arm and kill Li Daoyun. It was highly likely they would become enemies with the Fuyun sword clan. Today, Li Daoking had been angered. Under these circumstances, it would be great to receive Lu Chanu's help. Of course, he didn't want to take advantage of her. He just told the truth. He's starting. Lu Chanu looked to Yi Futian and continued, pretend we never talked. I'd like to see how long he can keep pretending. Servant. She wanted to see how this handsome young servant would perform in this area. At that moment, Yi Futian was staring at the huge flame statue before him. When his mind entered the statue, the flames instantly swallowed him up. It was even burning at his spiritual intent. It was terrible. Sensing something wrong, Yi Futian's noble intent rushed wildly into the statue. His intent transformed into a phantom, fending off the incoming flames. This was a world of fire. The figure formed by his intent stood in the fire. Both the ground and the sky was fiery red. Endless waves of fire hit him, trying to burn his intent to ashes. If Yi Futian's body wasn't formed by noble intent, he would probably be wiped out instantly and get swallowed. The intent contained by the flame statue was so terrifying. No wonder the people cultivating around here looked so powerful. Now, a red maple leaf seemed to appear in the sea of fire. It seemed to be burning with extreme fire, formed by the flame intent. The maple leaf floated towards Yi Futian and fell upon the body created by his intent. At that moment, Yi Futian clearly felt an extremely terrifying burning sensation. A maple leaf imprint appeared on his body. The mark contained extremely bright firelight and burned with a golden glow that spread to the rest of his body. Yi Futian fought with the flame intent, but he quickly discovered that in this world of endless flames, countless maple leaves fluttered in the air. They kept appearing, quickly covering the sky and sweeping towards him. Soon, his body was covered in maple leaf marks, burning at him. He actually felt pain. At this time, maple leaf imprints seemed to appear on his body in the outside world. It was frightening. Is this a spell? Yi Futian thought. A burst of icy intent bloomed on his body, covering him with a layer of frost. The maple imprints were also covered. Inside the statue, Yi Futian's body changed as well. Fire and ice mixed and the two different intents complemented each other, stopping the other from swallowing him. After that, he began quietly studying the intent in this world of fire. A long time later, he started fighting back against the statue's intent. Instead of defending passively, he was attacking. A stream of fire flowed towards Yi Futian from the statue. It transformed into endless threads of fire that was about to wrap around him. Many people looked over at Yi Futian in shock. How did he do this? What step would he get to? The statue and his body's intent combined and became one. Only the top geniuses that specialized in the flame intent could become enlightened inside the statue. However, Yi Futian's aura was clearly at the top of the second-level Dharma plane. He was still a step away from the third level. At that time, the flame current turned around and returned to the statue, disappearing from Yi Futian's body. Did he fail? Everyone looked to Yi Futian. It was normal to fail at the second-level Dharma plane. At that time, Yi Futian opened his eyes. The aura slowly faded and a bright smile appeared in his eyes. It was just as how he'd guessed. He's unharmed. Many people were shocked at Yi Futian. Someone of such a low plane had studied the statue for so long but was unharmed. Yi Futian's talent must be extraordinary. Lu Chanu had been studying him. Seeing Yi Futian open his eyes, she said to Yi Wuchen, he indeed is very powerful. It seems that he has noble intent already. It's mid-level noble fate as well. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to handle it. But even so, it wasn't to the extent that Yi Wuchen had said. Yi Futian had failed to become one with the statue. Perhaps he could do it after he reached the pinnacle of the Dharma plane. Yu Sheng, Yi Futian called. Then he gazed at Yi Wuchen who was beside Lu Chanu and said, young master. Yi Wuchen felt awkward. Lu Chanu already knew but Yi Futian was still calling him that. Continue. Lu Chanu seemed to smile at Yi Futian. She wanted to know how much longer he could keep up the act. Seeing Lu Chanu's smile, Yi Futian thought something was wrong. What expression was that? However, Yi Wuchen and Yu Sheng arrived beside him. This statue is strange. You can try communicating with it, Yi Futian said to them. Yu Sheng and Yi Wuchen nodded. Since Yi Futian said that, he must have discovered something. The two walked to the statue best for them and sat down to sense with their eyes closed. Yi Futian moved. Instead of staying to cultivate before the flame statue, he went to another powerful statue. He sat down and continued studying that one. Lulin Shui also walked over and found an ice statue. Lin Yuyao tried too. She was almost wiped out but thankfully, she reacted quickly. Princess, you seem interested in them. Lu Chanu's servant was curious. The princess rarely became so close to men. Half a year ago, someone who said he was from the 100 Lands received the noble fate and was accepted by the royal Zan temple. Later, the ancient barren world opened. Apparently many people from the place no one cares about came here, Lu Chanu said. Do you think they're from there? Lu Chanu didn't reply. Even if she didn't think Yi Futian was as impressive as Yi Wuchen said, he was still at the level of the prides of some top forces. If he really did come from the 100 Lands, then he was honestly shocking. At that time, many people looked at the stairs. A group of people had arrived. The leader was a girl dressed in a long white dress. She was so beautiful, her steps were so light, and her figure was so wonderful that she looked like a fairy. She had many followers behind her, both men and women. Seeing her appearance, someone exclaimed, "It's the witch, Gu Biu." It's her. Hearing the words, the witch, many people looked over. They were all shocked by the newcomer. She seemed to radiate a magnetic force as she walked, making everyone fall for her. She was Gu Biu from the Witch Mountain. The names Chanu and Biu both came from poetry about beauties, so many people would compare her with Lu Chanu. They were both extremely beautiful girls. Gu Biu smiled brilliantly, making many people fall for her without even trying. She walked to Lu Chanu. I heard that you got some subordinates that hurt Li Daoyun's brother. Something flashed past Lu Chanu's eyes. Did news really spread that fast? This meant that the Fuyun Sword clan would get here soon too. What is it to you? I just pity Li Daoyun. He's been pursuing you for this long but was rejected in such a cruel way, Gu Biu said delicately. Does that mean I have a bigger chance? Someone else said. Another group arrived on the steps. The man in the front wore a golden robe. He was very elegant. It's the Ji family. Everyone's eyes flashed again. The Ji family was a top noble family and had been passed down many generations in the Eastern Barren territory. They weren't just a simple family anymore. Many other clans were subordinate to them. They controlled a portion of the Eastern Barren territory. Ji Zemo, are you pursuing the princess now? The witch teased. If I can marry either of you two, it'll be great. Of course, if you both are willing, it'll be perfect. Ji Zemo smiled at the beauties. I don't think you can take it. The witch's pretty eyes rolled and her gentle voice was disarming. I need to try to know, Ji Zemo chuckled. The star is here. The witch looked behind him. There were several glowing figures there with swords on their backs. It was the Futian sword clan. Li Daoqing was amongst them. Chapter 192 The Body of the Sword. Chapter 192 The Body of the Sword. Li Daoqing's group arrived. The eyes of the people at the top of the mountain were all fixed on them. The two beside Li Daoqing were all from the Futian sword clan. Mu Yunhe, Xiao Teng. Ji Zemo smiled when he saw the two. Mu Yunhe and Xiao Teng were all extraordinary cultivators of the Futian sword clan. Mu Yunhe especially was at the 8th level Dharma plane. He had the noble fate in swordsmanship. The three took a look around and then noticed Lu Chanu. They walked to her. Mu Yunhe called, Princess Chanu. Li Daoyun was pursuing Lu Chanu. They didn't want the relationship to become too awkward since Lu Chanu wasn't the one that hurt Li Daoqing. It was one of her subordinates. In this case, Lu Chanu had nothing to do with Li Daoqing's being defeated. Lu Chanu looked at Mu Yunhe's trio without emotions. What's the matter? Don't you know? The witch Gu Biyu said with a smile. It seemed that Lu Chanu wanted to protect her subordinates. I've heard that Daoqing made rude remarks about the princess and caused some misunderstandings. I'm here to apologize, Mu Yunhe said. Lu Chanu looked at the man before her. Mu Yunhe was indeed Mu Yunhe, very considerate. No need to apologize. He has been taught a lesson, Lu Chanu said indifferently. The spectators were amazed. Lu Chanu took Yu Sheng's cruel beating Li Daoqing as a lesson for his rudeness to her. This meant that she would take responsibility for it. In this case, people were quite curious about how Mu Yunhe would react. Would he turn against Lu Chanu? If so, that would be very interesting. He deserved it. Mu Yunhe nodded. The people were shocked, but Mu Yunhe continued. However, Daoqing is quite reluctant to accept being defeated with a ritual implement. This time, he comes for a fair fight. It has nothing to do with your highness. He just wants to save the dignity of the Futian sword clan. I hope you won't take any offense. Lu Chanu gazed deeply at Mu Yunhe and responded coldly, Li Daoqing is at the 5th level Dharma plane while the one that defeated him is at the 2nd level Dharma plane. Where is the fairness? Level is a part of one's strength. Since you think so highly of that man, there must be something special about him. If you think it's unfair, Daoqing will suppress his ability while fighting, Mu Yunhe said calmly. Lu Chanu stared at Mu Yunhe while he continued. The men of the Futian sword clan could be defeated, but not in this way. If Daoqing is defeated again but in a fairer way, we'll let it go. Mu Yunhe spoke calmly, but he still sounded aggressive, despite speaking to the princess of the Lu kingdom. It was not only about Li Daoqing who was humiliated in public, but also about the reputation of the Futian sword clan. If Lu Chanu stuck to what she had said before, Mu Yunhe couldn't blame her. However, the clan would not just let it go this way. Lu Chanu could tell Mu Yunhe's resolution from his words. She walked toward Yi Futian's group. Everyone followed her. Gu Biyu grew curious. Did Lu Chanu really plan to have her people fight with Li Daoqing again? Many eyes followed Lu Chanu. People came up to the top of the hill constantly from the stairs. They were all not nearby, and hearing that Li Daoqing was beaten up by Lu Chanu's subordinate, they all gathered to watch the show. At this time, Yi Futian's group was cultivating quietly. Appearing to notice something, they opened their eyes to see everyone looking over. Then they saw Li Daoqing and Lu Chanu's group and immediately figured out what was happening. Yi Futian's group gathered together. Lu Chanu told them what had just happened and said, if you don't want to fight, just ignore them. Hearing this, Yi Futian grew interested. Did they want to fight without using any ritual implements? Someone was beaten up but wanted to talk about fairness. Li Daoyun intended to kill them with his peak achievement in Dharma, and he chopped off one of Yi Wuchen's arms. Was this fair too? If the one who was defeated was not Li Daoking but Yu Sheng, the clan would say nothing about it. But the fact was contrary, and now they wanted a fair fight. So you really went back to complain? Yu Sheng glanced at Li Daoking. Do you want to die? Li Daoking's face was livid. He had been beaten violently by Yu Sheng. At this moment, he just felt pain all over his body. If not for the special recovery methods, he would not be able to fight at this moment. What a ridiculous fairness. Yu Sheng stepped forward. Since he wants fairness, I'll fight again. Yi Wuchen said calmly. He was at the same level as Li Daoking, the 5th level Dharma plane. If Li Daoking wanted to talk about fairness, Yi Wuchen would like to fight with him. Yu Sheng looked at Yi Wuchen and said, okay. Yi Wuchen's arm had been damaged by Li Daoking's senior brother, Li Daoyun. He was more suitable for this fight. Yi Wuchen stood out but didn't pull out his sword. Since Li Daoking wanted a fair fight, he would fulfill that wish. Li Daoking stepped out. In a second, great murderous sword intent could be sensed. A terrible storm of sword aura rolled over. Great sword intent swept towards Yi Wuchen's body. Li Daoking was considered to be just as talented as his senior brother Li Daoyun. He had great achievement in swordsmanship with a mid-level noble fate. His sword intent was extremely strong too. However, Yi Wuchen was just like him. When the two sword intents appeared, people including Ji Biyu were all stunned. No wonder Lu Chenyan wished to protect this group. They were all great talents. It appeared that Lu Chenu wanted them to join Lu Kingdom. But even with great talent, it would still be hard for Yi Wuchen to win against Li Daoking. Yi Wuchen stood there quietly, emanating horrible sword intent as if he was a statue cast by swords. The moment Li Daoking moved, countless beams of light filled this space. They were the reflections of the swords. He moved very quickly like lightning. People could only see his blurred figure. Then they saw Li Daoking descend from above Yi Wuchen. Countless swords appeared and swept over the air. At this moment, people saw horrible sword streaks cut the void. If Yi Wuchen was hit by those lights, his body would be cut into countless pieces. It's the split light sword technique. People all saw the brilliant sword, which was like a godly technique. They could practically see Yi Wuchen be engulfed by the endless sword light. As an extraordinary cultivator of the Futian sword clan, Li Daoking showed his absolute advantage with only one move. Yi Wuchen still stood there. Everyone was watching, wondering whether he just couldn't figure out how to resist this. If he couldn't, he would most likely die. Yi Futian looked coldly at the sword. The opponent had started with a fatal move. Lu Chenu only stared at Yi Wuchen. Surprisingly, he didn't even move. Shocking sword intent flowed through him at this time, but it was still hard to block Li Daoking's attack. Miu Yunhe and Xiao Teng looked satisfied. There were no flaws in Li Daoking's attack. Endless swords tearing through the air were about to hit Yi Wuchen. Everyone mourned for him. Would he lose with just one move? Sure enough, there was still a big gap between him and the Futian sword clan. Just as the sword came down, Yi Wuchen's body, bathed in the light of sword, turned transparent. It was as if he was a sword rather than a man. When cutting down, Li Daoking's sword was influenced. It spun around as if it was to be integrated with his body and become a part of that sword. It is the sword body. The people of the Futian sword clan were surprised. Yi Wuchen was not Yi Wuchen anymore, he was the incarnation of the sword. The sword body was the ultimate pursuit of all swordsmen. It could not be attained merely relying on talent. One also needed an incomparable faith and a sincere heart in swordsmanship. The sword and the self must be one. People who could form the sword body were all top talents of swordsmanship. It's not the sword body yet but just an immature form. Miu Yunhe was shocked by this sight. Even now, it was still very destructive. It was very possible for Yi Wuchen to succeed. Seeing this scene, Li Daoking felt embarrassed. His fatal kill was integrated into Yi Wuchen's body. His body like a sword, he streaked past. Another sword struck out as if all blades were one. A horrible light sliced through the air. At this moment, Yi Wuchen's body moved. He looked like the king of swordsmanship. As he moved, all swords followed him. His body seemed to be turned into a real sword and descended on Li Daoking. Li Daoking felt great murderous sword intent approaching. He stepped back but a bunch of cold light swept past his neck. Li Daoqing stopped, his eyes fixed on the figure. Yi Wuchen had caught up to him with the sword and sliced the throat. Blood flowed down Li Daoqing's neck. He would die if Yi Wuchen made the slightest move. Everything was silent. Many people shuddered inwardly at the sight of that sword. The Fuyun sword clan was famous for its swordsmanship. The clan was known as the strongest sword clan in the Eastern Barren Territory. However, Li Daoqing, one of the top talents from the Fuyun sword clan, was defeated by just one move. Though Yi Wuchen only made one move, everyone could tell how strong he was. It was enough for him to be compared with those top talents of the Fuyun sword clan. Lu Chanu was shocked too. She had heard Yi Wuchen had lost one arm when fighting with Li Daoyun but still wounded Li Daoyun. However, she didn't realize how excellent Yi Wuchen was until now. He was stronger than she had imagined before. However, Yi Wuchen once said that he was the least competent of the three. Was it really so? Lu Chanu doubted that. She didn't train in swordsmanship but she knew that what Yi Wuchen had performed was an indication of the sword body. A swordsman that learned the sword body was so terrifying. She looked at Mu Yunhe and Xiao Teng and said, "This is the fairness you asked for before." Satisfied. Mu Yunhe looked at Yi Wuchen deeply and said, "We are indeed defeated. We will let this go." The eyes of the Witch clan and Ji family grew sharp. Other spectators were a little disappointed. The Fuyun sword clan would not take further action. That's it. At this time, an untimely voice sounded. People turned around and saw Yi Futian stepping forward. He was gazing coolly at the Fuyun sword clan. Chapter 193. Chapter 193, Pull Close. After Li Daoqing was hurt by Yu Sheng, he called the Fuyun sword clan over for a fair fight. Li Daoqing's strikes were fatal. Could Yi Wuchen kill him? After being defeated, he just said that it was over and left. Instead of being defeated, it felt like he was forgiving them. Everyone's eyes flashed as they stared at Yi Futian. What did he mean? Mu Yunhe furrowed his brows and asked, "What do you mean?" "Wuchen also has sword intent," Yi Futian said with a smile. Yi Wuchen naturally understood what Yi Futian meant. "Release your fate. One must pay the cost of losing a battle." Hearing their words, everyone became amazed. Was Yi Wuchen about to steal Li Daoqing's noble fate? Li Daoqing's expression grew uncomfortable. He was already extremely humiliated to be defeated by the same plane. He was the pride of the Fuyun sword clan, after all. Now, Yi Wuchen even wanted to take his fate. Interesting. Ji Biyu grinned as she watched this. It seemed that Lu Chanu had taken in some very interesting people. Judging from the talent Yi Wuchen had just displayed, it was no wonder Lu Chanu didn't care about Li Daoyun's attitude. Mu Yunhe looked between Yi Futian and Yi Wuchen. "This is over," he said. "We just had Li Daoqing fight a battle with you," Xiao Teng said coldly. They'd already taken Princess Lu Chanu into consideration and didn't use their status to press down on them. But now Yi Futian wanted to take Li Daoqing's fate. It was presumptuous. "You won't dare," a furious voice said. It was Li Daoqing. However, Yi Wuchen's noble fate transformed into Emperor's fate and swept towards him. At the same time, Yi Wuchen's sword poked into Li Daoqing's throat. The icy feeling was too much. Blood suddenly dripped from Li Daoqing's neck. His entire body was numb and he didn't dare move. "Do you know how I lost this arm?" Yi Wuchen's eyes were extremely sharp as he stared at Li Daoqing. Li Daoqing glanced at Yi Wuchen's shoulder. What did it have to do with him? He said his name is Li Daoyun from the Fuyun sword clan, Yi Wuchen continued. Li Daoyun didn't care about fairness when he took Yi Wuchen's arm with peak Dharma power. It was one thing if Li Daoqing didn't bother them. However, he'd instigated it and then lost. Did he really think he could leave like this? Hearing this, Mu Yunhe and Xiao Teng's expressions all changed. So, was this an old rivalry? There was a reason why Li Daoqing was beaten like that. The surrounding people were surprised as well. Yi Wuchen's arm was lost because of Li Daoyun. The pride of the Fuyun sword clan at the peak of the Dharma plane and a super swordsman in the 5th level Dharma plane had created such a rivalry. Ji Biyu glanced at Lu Chanu. Did you know? Lu Chanu didn't look at her. Her eyes were still on Yi Wuchen and Li Daoqing. Since Yi Wuchen revealed it and wanted to take Li Daoqing's fate, this was a public challenge. Did he not fear Li Daoyun anymore? Or was it for her? Lu Chunyu wondered if Yi Wuchen really trusted her or if he was confident in something else. As Yi Wuchen pressed his sword further, Li Daoking finally felt fear. He released his fate. Yi Wuchen's emperor's fate was extremely aggressive. It quickly swallowed Li Daoyun's fate clean. Yi Wuchen's sword fate quickly turned terrifying while Li Daoking had nothing. All his effort in the ancient barren world was gone. Yi Wuchen let go of Li Daoking. Mu Yunhe and Xiao Teng just watched quietly from the side. Even the extremely cold Mu Yunhe was aghast now. As disciples of the Futian sword clan, they'd always been the orthodox swordsmanship. But today, Li Daoking lost to a swordsman in training of the same plane. He was restricted and had his fate taken. For disciples of a top force, this was extremely humiliating. Princess, what do you think? Mu Yunhe gazed at Lu Chunyu, still holding back his anger. Even though Yi Wuchen was very talented, the Futian sword clan couldn't let him go for taking Li Daoking's fate in public. If Lu Chunyu wanted to protect Yi Futian's group, they could leave for now, but this wasn't over. Isn't this the fairness you wanted? Lu Chunyu was indifferent. I understand, Mu Yunhe muttered. In that case, we will leave now. With that, he glanced at Yi Futian and Yi Wuchen. We will meet again. Meet again. Yi Futian looked at him and asked, did I allow you to leave? He looked at the Futian sword clan. They wanted to leave. That was funny. Everyone's eyes narrowed and looked at Yi Futian strangely. It wasn't over yet. What did he want to do after taking Li Daoking's fate? Lu Chunyu also looked at him. The previous judgment on him had been very suitable, but where did he get the confidence? Mu Yunhe and Xiao Teng's fury were uncontrollable now. They stared darkly at Yi Futian. How may I help you? Mu Yunhe asked coldly. His voice was sharp. Are you going to hand your fate over or do we have to do it? Yi Futian smiled at Mu Yunhe. You came so powerfully but want to leave after getting defeated. And go find the Futian sword clan to take revenge. They had to leave something behind. Reckless. Xiao Teng walked up. He was at the 7th level Dharma plane and his aura was extremely powerful. At that time, Yi Wuchen had walked before Yi Futian. Then he unsheathed his noble sword. Reckless. Yi Wuchen was at the 5th level Dharma plane and had a noble sword. Would there be any problems to deal with two men? He hadn't been this powerful when he'd injured Li Daoyun back then. Disregarding him, Lulin Shui was behind Yi Futian too. She'd been quiet but Yi Futian had seen her abilities. She could easily defeat someone like Li Daoyun. Of course, this wasn't why he was confident. Without any nonsense, Yi Wuchen brandished his sword and walked to Mu Yunhe and Xiao Teng. He wielded the sword with one arm but couldn't hide his glory. Sword intent flowed through his body. His body seemed to have transformed into the body of a sword as well and dazzled brightly. With a flash, his body disappeared. An instant later, a sword stabbed forward. It transformed into a rain of swords, engulfing Mu Yunhe and Xiao Teng. A curtain of swords appeared around the two. They waved their swords, cutting the countless swords that had appeared. However, Yi Wuchen's swords were much simpler. When he descended again, he struck down on Xiao Teng. Endless sword intent flowed with his movement. The sword curtain was cut and Xiao Teng's expression changed. Rays of light flashed and he felt a coldness. His shirt was shredded and cuts appeared on his arm. He froze in place, not daring to move. So fast. Everyone stared at the battlefield. Yi Wuchen didn't stop. He started after Mu Yunhe. No matter how Mu Yunhe's sword intent flared, Yi Wuchen just stabbed and the sword rain turned into one point. A beam of sword light appeared before Mu Yunhe's body and went through his neck. It was only a bit away from being fatal. Sword intent wrapped around Yi Wuchen. He walked to Mu Yunhe and pointed at the throat. Mu Yunhe's expression was heavy and dark. He looked furious but still released his fate. He was robbed. Xiao Teng was next. The three powerful cultivators of the Futian sword clan had come and thought that they could easily take revenge for Li Daoking if Lu Chunyu didn't stop them. They didn't expect that they would humiliate their clan like never before. They lost to someone on the same plane. They still lost when they were in a higher plane with a ritual implement. The three had their fates robbed. It was such a big difference compared to their confidence when they first came. Tell Li Daoyun that I am Yi Wuchen, the man said. Back then, Li Daoyun had killed all along the way. When he had gone, he reported that he was Li Daoyun of the Fuyun Sword Clan. He'd been so arrogant. Mu Yunhei's group didn't say anything. They left pathetically. Countless gazes at the mountaintop fell upon Yi Wuchen. With the talent he'd displayed today, he could join any top force. Lu Chanu of the Lu Kingdom had gotten there early. Apparently, they'd already agreed to cultivate with her. Amazing. Ji Zimo walked over now. He smiled at Yi Wuchen. You're very talented. If you're here to join a top force, you can consider the Ji family. We are a noble clan in the Eastern Barren Territory. If you come with us, you can create a clan in the future. The people behind me are all from the clans of the Eastern Barren Territory. Yi Wuchen glanced at him and then at Yi Futian. He wasn't good at this stuff. Yi Futian should decide. Everyone looked at Yi Futian in shock. It seemed that Yi Wuchen wanted him to decide. Don't worry, they can also come with me. I won't treat them badly, Ji Zimo said with a smile. If Yi Wuchen could join him, it would be a great help to him. As for Yi Futian's group, it didn't matter even if they weren't as talented. They like pretty girls. Ji Biyu walked over and said to Yi Futian, would you like to be my subordinate? I can definitely treat you better than Lu Chanu. Her eyes and smile were mesmerizing. Yi Futian's eyes brightened. Chuckling, he asked, how much better? How much do you want? Ji Biyu was intrigued. I had a servant before but she left. How about you come with me? Yi Futian smiled brightly at Ji Biyu. Shameless. Behind him, Lin Yuyao blinked. Did he want another pretty servant? Chapter 194 A Bet. Chapter 194, A Bet. At the top of the hill, people all looked at Yi Futian when they heard what he had said. Yi Futian wanted Ji Biyu to be his maid. What an arrogant guy. The witch Ji Biyu from the witch clan exceeded others both in talent and appearance. Ji Biyu's status in the witch clan could be compared with Princess Lu's in the Lui Kingdom. Yi Futian chose to follow Lu Chanu but wanted Ji Biyu to be his maid. Was this Yi Futian's response to Ji Biyu's offer of letting them be her subordinates? Most of the people behind Ji Biyu were confused while some of them were looking at Yi Futian indignantly. Was Yi Futian serious? Ji Zimo was also surprised. Where did this guy's courage and confidence come from? Lu Chanu smiled at this scene. She was curious about how Ji Biyu would react. However, Ji Biyu was just a bit stunned. Then her smile grew more brilliant, full of charm. She stared at Yi Futian and said, you want me to serve you? Her tone sounded quite flirtatious and evocative of people's imagination. Witches always did whatever they wanted. However, anyone who wanted to take advantage of them would suffer a lot. It is a wonderful thing to be served by a beauty. Yi Futian smiled at Ji Biyu. Seeing his smile, people were wordless. This guy was too bold. As the weaker one, how did he dare to ask Ji Biyu to be his maid? Wasn't he too naive? In the Eastern Barren Territory, even the top talents from top powers dared not to let Ji Biyu serve them. But I would rather you to be my subordinate. Ji Biyu laughed. So, are you to be my subordinate or I, your maid? Well, a problem. Yi Futian looked at her. What do you think? How about a bet? Ji Biyu smiled and said, if you lose the bet, not only you but he will all be my subordinates. She looked at Yi Wuchen and smiled at Lu Chanu. It was very fun to take people from Lu Chanu's hand. What if you lose? Yi Futian smirked. Serve you, as you said before. Ji Biyu giggled. Her eyes were overwhelmingly beautiful and mesmerizing. In Lulan City, Yu Linglong, who followed Qian Yang, was fascinating too. But Ji Biyu was different from her. Yu Linglong's appearance and temperament couldn't be compared with Ji Biyu. She was fascinating from the inside out. Her every move and smile exuded exotic charm. Her elegant temperament made her a strong attraction to those top talents. Actually, she had more pursuers than Lu Chanu did, including many top talents from Eastern Barren Territory. What kind of bet? Yi Futian smiled. She had dug the pit, waiting for him to jump in. The peaks of Mirror Mountain are all relics. Since we are here, let's take the relics as the bet and make them our battlefields. We'll send 3 people per side and choose 3 relics. The outcome will be known after 3 rounds. What do you think? Ji Biyu said with a smile. Many people's eyes fixated on people behind Ji Biyu. Those people were all extraordinary cultivators. Hearing Gu Biyu's words, Yi Futian looked strange. Take the relics here as the bet. It was not challenging for him at all. Good idea, Yi Futian responded with a big smile. Will Gu Biyu be a better maid than Yun Chinmo? Hope that she won't run away too. Seeing Yi Futian agree so readily, Gu Biyu also smiled. This group of people were definitely going to be her subordinates. Can I participate too? If you lose, be my maid. Ji Zemo smiled at Gu Biyu. But I'm not interested in you. Gu Biyu looked at Ji Zemo and then glanced at Yi Futian. You're not as good looking. Ji Zemo's face turned livid. People were speechless too. Gu Biyu smiled at Yi Futian and said, you pick the relics first. Yu Sheng, Yi Futian called. Yu Sheng knew what he meant and walked towards the war drum zone. Those who had heard Yu Sheng beating the drums had a strange expression. Gu Biyu deliberately set the trap for Yi Futian, but she might lose the first round. Accompanied by a boom, the drum's sound vibrated the space. Yu Sheng's aura burst from him and began to go wild. After a while, the 9 drums were beaten at the same time. A violent storm rolled over the top of the mountain. People's hearts were stirred by the sounds. Gu Biyu's beautiful eyes flashed slightly. The 9 drums rang simultaneously without stopping. It was incomparably destructive. No one among the people behind Gu Biyu could do this. That was to say, Gu Biyu lost the first round. I concede. Gu Biyu recovered and showed a bigger smile. She didn't expect that Yu Sheng had a great talent too, as Yi Wuchen did. In this case, if this group of people could be her subordinates, they would help her a lot. Her status would be further stabled and might even ascend. The competition within the witch clan was very intense. Being able to be assisted by the strong was naturally wonderful. She had confidence in controlling people of any personalities. Since Yi Futian's group were willing to follow Lu Chanu, she was confident that she could handle them too. Second round, which of you will fight? Gu Biyu smiled and asked. Yi Futian looked at Lu Lanzu. She could have a try. Lu Lanzu stepped forward quietly. Many eyes fell on her. All were slightly surprised at her appearance and temperament. A figure behind Gu Biyu walked out. This man in a black robe was slender and quiet. He had been standing behind Gu Biyu quietly but emanated a dangerous aura. Leng Feng. People shuddered at the sight of him, the great talent of the witch clan. He had great talent but was obsessed with Gu Biyu. He was willing to do anything for her, even subordinating himself. However, his talent wasn't any lower. Since they chose the drum area, you just choose the same. Gu Biyu smiled at him. Leng Feng nodded. He walked toward that area and started beating the drums. The reason why Gu Biyu conceded when Yu Sheng beat the drums was that Yu Sheng had done the extreme. No one could surpass him. But actually, Leng Feng was strong too. His every beat was stable, as if there was a fantastic rhythm in his beating. He beat the drum again and again. The drums gradually turned into a horrible storm, but Leng Feng stood there still and continued his beating until the 9 drums rang at the same time. Yi Futian took a glance at Leng Feng. As expected, Gu Biyu did prepare for this. Lu Lanzu walked forward and beat the drum too. This was her first time doing so, but she had a strong talent too. She managed to make 8 drums ring but failed at the last drum. Now, it's back to the beginning. Gu Biyu smiled at Yi Futian and said, which of you will fight in the last round? Him. Gu Biyu looked at Yi Wuchen. You set the rule first. Which relics will you pick? Yi Futian asked. Are you sure? Gu Biyu smiled at Yi Futian. At the previous 2 rounds, they all had selected the battlefield once. Unexpectedly, Yi Futian let her decide the final round, which was supposed to be discussed by 2 sides. Yes. Yi Futian nodded. Gu Biyu smiled at him. He was pretty cute, letting her choose. Then I choose there. Gu Biyu pointed to an elegant place. There was chess, paintings, gukens, and flutes. She may take the final round into her own hands. You can't promise her like this. Lu Chanu walked to Yi Futian and whispered. Yi Futian was overconfident about himself. How could he let Gu Biyu select the final battlefield? Her own hands. Yi Futian looked at Gu Biyu. The witch seemed to attach great importance to this match. It's all right. Yi Futian smiled at Lu Chanu. Gu Biyu is good at playing the flute. She is proficient in music, especially the witch requiem of Witch Clan. Even Yi Wuchen won't be able to resist it. Even without the spiritual attack, the music transferred from spirit is destructive enough. Lu Chanu couldn't help to say after seeing Yi Futian was so confident. Witch requiem. Yi Futian grew more interested in this. He said with a smile, "Then I would like to have a try." Saying this, he walked toward that area with Gu Biyu. His group followed behind. Lu Chanu was stunned. She looked at Yi Futian meaningfully. He said he would like to have a try. Rather than Yi Wuchen, Yi Futian would participate in the final battle. Didn't this guy say that he was just a servant before? A servant wanted to have the witch of the Witch Clan to be his maid. Lu Chanu was speechless but followed them. The witch did have some means. If Yi Futian failed in this battle, then this group of people would really have to join her. The group of people came to the relic that was a great place for musical competition. There were gukins, drums, and flutes there. However, everything seemed to be shapeless as if they were illusions transferred from spirits. Those instruments floated in the air, diffusing the power of fate. It seemed that many great masters had fought here once. Decided who will fight? Gu Biyu asked. I will fight. Yi Futian smiled and responded. Gu Biyu looked at him deeply and smiled gently. Since I want you to follow me, I hope you will be truly convinced. I am pretty good at the shao, so I will play a song for you. This song contains no spiritual attacks but only spiritual interference. If you can resist it, I will concede. Gu Biyu smiled at Yi Futian. Okay. Yi Futian nodded lightly. Then Gu Biyu moved toward that musical aura where there seemed to be countless invisible notes pulsing. Those miraculous notes were all transformed from intent. Gu Biyu murmured in her mind. The notes fluctuated and formed a shape of shao. Many people were surprised that Gu Biyu would attend the final round personally. Chapter 195 Witch Requiem. Chapter 195 Witch Requiem. Gu Biyu placed her shao to her red lips and blew slowly. A mysterious sound came out of the shao. In an instant, it brought everyone into a beautiful artistic conception. So beautiful. Gu Biyu was known as the witch because of how she acted. But actually, she was extremely elegant as she played the shao right now. The music was beautiful and her long hair flew in the wind, her white dress fluttering. Like a fairy, she was otherworldly and mesmerizing. This was the first time for many to see her. Looking at her right now, their eyes almost fell out. They couldn't pull themselves out. Only she existed in their eyes. A witch indeed. Enthusiasm flashed past Gizimo's eyes. Lu Chanu and Gu Biyu were different types of beauties but were both lovely. They had high status too. It would be great if he could have either of them. The witch was more attractive right now, but Gizimo knew that it was because everyone was affected by the shao's artistic conception. The witch requiem was created from the Witch Clan's spiritual sorcery. It could transform, and was extremely powerful. The witch requiem was the foundation of the Witch Clan. Only the core members could cultivate it. Gu Biyu was of high status so she could cultivate it. There seemed to be no sound other than the shao at the top of the mountain. Countless eyes looked over. So many people were mesmerized by the witch now. She was beautiful and so was her music. Everyone was affected by it, even Yi Futian. Right now, he stood across from Gu Biyu. Music notes flowed endlessly into his mind with intent power. However, it was different from what he'd imagined. It didn't attack him. Instead, it engraved an image in his mind. It was the image of Gu Biyu. Her fairy-like image was planted in his mind and consciousness. The beautiful music was intoxicating and the fairy-like figure was even more so. At that moment, his mind was completely taken over by Gu Biyu's image. She seemed to want to be ingrained in his mind until he couldn't pull himself out. He involuntarily started admiring her, wanting to love her. He purely wanted to make that figure the most important part of his life. Is it the witch requiem? Yi Futian thought. It was an advanced tactic and much more powerful than usual alluring techniques. Gu Biyu claimed that if Yi Futian could withstand it, she would admit defeat. It seemed that the so-called withstanding was a bit different from what he'd thought. It was possible he would surrender with one song. This was similar to the Beastmaster life spirit that Emperor Yi Qing had blessed him with. It was different but one of the same. The witch had really set up a trap for him. Unfortunately, her target was him. No one in the ancient barren world could surpass him in will and intent. Gu couldn't affect him either. The song grew more and more beautiful. It was the first time for many to hear such a beautiful shout. Even though the witch only targeted Yi Futian, everyone was still affected. Some weaker ones were about to be taken over. They stared at her with endless admiration as if gazing at an angel. As the music streamed into his ears, Yi Futian seemed close to falling for Gu. However, he was resolute. Another image appeared in his mind. He hadn't seen Fox in a long time. Thinking of the one he loved, a smile appeared on his face. He erased the marks Gu left. Gu, while playing the shao, stared at Yi Futian and saw a brilliant smile on the handsome face. It was as if he had seen his beloved girl. However, she didn't feel proud. Yi Futian didn't smile like this because of her shao or because of seeing her. While she played, he actually thought of someone else. Was it one of the two beauties standing behind him? Thinking of this, Gu furiously added her intent to the music notes, making the song even prettier. However, Yi Futian was still unmoved. Gradually, the song changed. Instead of being beautiful, it turned aggressive. This change seemed to be shapeless. The pulsing and aggressive notes rushed directly into Yi Futian's mind. It cut apart his fantasies. Hua Jiu's image kept disappearing from his mind, forcefully wiped away. Gu no longer looked like a fairy. Instead, she was a domineering goddess. She was brilliant and horrible. She forcefully entered Yi Futian's mind to plant her image until he couldn't get rid of her. She would force Yi Futian to submit before her. In the fantasy, Yi Futian looked up at Gu in the air. She was as powerful as a goddess. Her music tried to make him surrender. In his mind, Hua Jiu's image gradually faded away as if being wiped. Only Gu's image was allowed to stay. Outside, the spectators' feelings changed. They were also influenced by the song. However, Yi Futian's clothes and black hair fluttered as if bearing horrible intent pressure. Yi Futian's eyes sharpened. Want to make me submit? Want to wipe away Jiu's image? He grew even more resolute. Walking forward, he arrived at an instrument created by music notes and said, "I must return a gift to you out of courtesy." Yi Futian played the guqin. His will entered the music notes as he strummed the strings. His music instantly accompanied the shao. Everyone felt a powerful force at once. The two types of music notes collided in the air, creating a shapeless windstorm. The shao was extremely violent. It wanted to wipe away everything in Yi Futian's mind and plant Gu's image. The guqin was magnanimous. Like an emperor, it protected the image in his mind. His territory was like a painting. The terrifying guqin music seeped into the witch's ears. It wiped away the aggressive goddess, trying to make her bow down. Yi Futian used his own enlightenment and understanding of the musical piece the world to make it perfect. A great artistic conception was born. He's fighting back. Everyone was shocked at this scene. Gu's witch requiem couldn't take Yi Futian down. Neither the fairy-like gentleness nor the aggressive goddess could destroy Yi Futian's will. Now, he was fighting back. Yi Futian's aura changed instantly. An emperor-like power emanated from him. He seemed to have become a powerful king. The guqin and shao collided. The emperor and goddess clashed. Endless music notes fought crazily in that area as their auras grew stronger. The witch requiem made the goddess become indomitable. Endless images of her appeared in Yi Futian's mind. The world was equally domineering. Right now, Yi Futian was like a true emperor. His musical pieces will descended upon Gu to make her surrender. Such powerful intent. Everyone stared at the terrifying storm of music. They were up neck to neck. Neither was willing to step back. Would this turn into a tie? However, Gu had said that if Yi Futian could survive one song, she would admit defeat. Their bet had been that if she lost, she would become his servant. Yi Futian couldn't do anything if she didn't keep her word, but there was an audience here. It would be embarrassing. Just then, Gu's shout transformed into an endless river of notes that poured into Yi Futian's mind. She used her intent to communicate with the music notes and asked, "Who is in your mind?" With her body, aura, and the witch requiem, even the strongest person would surrender. let alone someone in a lower plane like Yi Futian. But he seemed to be protecting someone this entire time. Yi Futian grinned. Do you surrender? Surrender. Gu Biu repeated. I just can't defeat you with my will. She'd said that if Yi Futian would bear it, she would lose. Oh, Yi Futian chuckled. What if I tell you that I haven't even tried yet? His words surprised Gu Biu, but then she smiled. You're so arrogant. With that, the Shao returned and the witch Requiem attacked again. Yi Futian also smiled. He continued playing the Guqin, but his aura had changed again. Now, he was like an emperor. He instantly blasted away Gu Biu's image in his mind. At the same time, an undefeatable intent descended in Gu Biu's mind, forcefully cutting off her witch Requiem. Her powerful spiritual power burst forth to restrict that will. Her Shao stopped and she gazed at Yi Futian. The emperor-like figure stopped playing and smiled. He stood as if only he existed in the world. Everyone's eyes were fixated on those two figures. This wasn't a tie. Gu Biu had lost. In this battle of will, the witch Requiem had lost. Lu Chunyu stared at Yi Futian's figure. She thought of what Yi Wuchen had said. Now, it seemed that Yi Futian and Yu Sheng were definitely amazing and not below Yi Wuchen at all. They all specialized in different things. Yi Futian could actually face the witch Requiem and defeat Gu Biu. Even more shocking, he was only in the second-level Dharma plane, but his will was already so powerful. When he played the piece earlier, his aura was like an emperor. Someone like this wouldn't follow others so easily. Gu Biu and Ji Zimo wanted Yi Futian to be their subordinate. No wonder he would fight back and make Gu Biu his servant. Yi Futian smiled at the dazed Gu Biu. You're mine now. Chapter 196 Bear It or Not. Chapter 196. Bear It or Not. Gu Biu was stunned a little. She looked at Yi Futian. She didn't expect that she would lose the bet. From the beginning, she had been preparing this trap for Yi Futian to jump in so that he could be her subordinate. Unexpectedly, she was defeated. She didn't think that the horrible intent contained in Yi Futian's music could suppress her witch Requiem. But soon, she recovered, and her eyes, looking at Yi Futian, turned bright again. Yi Futian was only at second Dharma plane. If he could be so gifted, then so were Yi Wuchen and Yu Sheng. The trio definitely had the potential to be top young cultivators in Eastern Barren territory. The witch smiled charmingly. She looked at Yi Futian and said flirtatiously, "What do you want from your maid?" Yi Futian had said, "Now, you're mine." How bold he was. The surrounding people all gasped. The witch was very alluring at this moment. Their hearts were stirred by her deliberate bashfulness. Seeing the witch's performance, Lu Chunyu turned to Yi Futian. Though Yi Futian defeated Gu Biu, the witch had many vicious means and lived up to her name. Lu Chunyu was a great beauty too, but she was also enchanted a little bit when seeing Gu Biu's posture. This was because Gu Biu blended her witch methods into every move she made, making her extremely attractive. No one could forget her. Even those top talents would be attracted by her means. Yi Futian looked at the witch calmly. He admitted that she was very attractive. But trying to seduce him, it was impossible. He had experienced the fox before. You are my maid. That's why you are mine. Don't overinterpret it, Yi Futian responded indifferently. Hearing his response, people were all astonished by his calmness. How can he be so calm facing the witch's temptation? He must be pretending. Looking at Yi Futian's calmness, many dared him in their minds to keep pretending. Gu Biu giggled and looked at Yi Futian with her beautiful eyes. Do you really want me to serve you? You don't want to deny it, do you? Yi Futian looked at Gu Biu. Of course I don't. It's just, the witch said with a smile, I'm afraid you can't bear it. Can't bear it? Yi Futian looked at the witch and said, just do what you are supposed to do as a maid. Do not have any wild thoughts. Gu Biu was speechless. The people around them looked at Yi Futian with great admiration. He was really impressive. Okay. Gu Biu moved slightly to stand behind Yi Futian and quipped, My lord, what are your wishes? Yi Futian nodded in satisfaction. She was really adaptable. Follow me, said Yi Futian. He left this area and headed to the statues where he had been cultivating it previously. The witch followed beside him. Leng Feng and other strong cultivators who had arrived with her came up with cold faces. How could Yi Futian dare to follow through? Gu Beiyu just fulfilled her commitment, but how could Yi Futian not know how to be modest? Was he really treating Gu Beiyu as a maid? Gu Beiyu glanced at her group and smiled. Her eyes seemed to be telling people something. The group of people halted and looked at Gu Beiyu confusedly. It would indeed be embarrassing not to fulfill the promise, but so what? What qualified Yi Futian to let the top witch of the witch clan be his maid? Everyone would understand and wouldn't reprimand him if he didn't. Lin Yuyao looked at Yi Futian's back indignantly. This shameless guy enrolled another maid. Lu Chanu smiled at Yi Futian. This guy really had guts. However, he might not know that he would be in danger soon with this witch by his side. Yi Futian came to those statues. Gu Beiyu smiled gently at him and asked, "How did you do that? Why did the intent in your music suddenly strengthen? It seemed to slightly restrain my flute. My shoulders are a little stiff after playing the music," Yi Futian said. He sat onto the ground. Such an unprofessional maid wanted to dig out his secrets. She was thinking too much. Gu Beiyu blinked. His shoulders are a little stiff. What does that mean? Then let me massage your shoulders. Gu Beiyu suddenly smiled and stood behind Yi Futian. The surrounding people were instantly stunned. Shameless guy. How could his shoulders be stiff after playing when he was at such a high plane? Looking at the fairy-like woman in a white dress, people could not imagine her massaging shoulders for others. However, Gu Beiyu just smiled gently. Standing behind Yi Futian, she reached out her slender fingers and began to massage Yi Futian's shoulders. People were overwhelmed at the sight of this scene. Shameless. B-starred. Many people glared at Yi Futian in hatred. Ji Zimo's face became exceptionally complex too. Yi Futian could enjoy such a treatment. Comfortable. Gu Beiyu smiled gently. Not bad. Yi Futian nodded and closed his eyes with enjoyment. Yu Sheng behind them was stunned by this scene too. Without Hua Jiayu here, Yi Futian was really bold. Lu Chanu walked over and was speechless when seeing Yi Futian's satisfied face. Yi Futian opened his eyes and smiled at Lu Chanu. "Princess, may I help you?" Seeing Yi Futian was so casual, Lu Chanu had no idea how he could be so calm. "Aren't you a servant?" Lu Chanu asked with a smile. "Can't a servant have a maid?" Yi Futian smiled too. Since Yi Wuchen had told people that his arm was cut by Li Daoyun, he must have told Lu Chanu the truth. She was just making fun of him. "Of course you can. Just take care you don't get tricked." Lu Chanu glanced at the witch behind Yi Futian. Gu Beiyu was looking at her too. The two beauties looked into each other's eyes. The atmosphere became a little weird. After a short while, Lu Chanu drew back her sight and looked at Yi Futian. This guy was enjoying himself now, but had he ever thought about the consequence? The witch's pursuers were strong enough to kill him, let alone the witch clan. Yi Futian was a little confused. Why did those people always think too much? "Princess, what top powers are there in the Eastern Barren Territory?" Yi Futian suddenly asked. The relics here were enough for him to continue his cultivation for a period of time. Moreover, he could meet many people of top powers here. When everything here settled down, he would join one of those top powers and begin to solve the concerns brought by Luo Junlin. It was the time for him to get familiar with everything. The Eastern Barren Territory is extremely vast. There are many top powers in the central region. Mailu Kingdom, her witch clan, Fuyun Sword clan whose people you have encountered with before, as well as the Ji's family which Ji Zimo belongs to are all top powers, Lu Chanu explained. Seeing the great talent of Yi Futian's trio, she realized that it was not easy for Lu Kingdom to enroll them. However, she met them earlier than the other powers, so she had some advantages. Even if they chose the others, it was not a big deal. They could still be friends. "What about the Royal Zan Temple?" Yi Futian asked. "It's a powerful force but not at the uppermost level," Lu Chanu answered. "If you want to join a power, I think Eastern Barren College might be a good choice. The college is the force with the longest history in the Eastern Barren Territory. It has been passed down countless generations. The resources for cultivation there are probably the most outstanding in the whole Eastern Barren Territory. From this aspect, no other forces can be compared with it." Lu Chanu slowly introduced the other powers to Yi Futian. How is the Eastern Baron College when compared with Lu Kingdom? Yi Futian asked curiously. They are different. The Lu Kingdom is a kingdom while the Eastern Baron College is a college. Colleges put more emphasis on the cultivation of its disciples. The teachers are all at the noble plane. It has cultivated a lot of very outstanding disciples, Lu Chunyu answered him honestly. Yi Futian nodded. The Lu Kingdom was a kingdom, so it focused on the cultivation of the royalty. Of course I will be delighted if you come to Lu Kingdom. Lu Chunyu smiled. Yi Futian smiled. Your Highness, actually, it doesn't matter if we join Lu Kingdom or not. How? Lu Chunyu looked at Yi Futian confusedly. If one of us is princess's bridegroom, we don't need to join the Lu Kingdom to get close to each other. Yi Futian smirked at Lu Chunyu. The princess was stunned for a while. Then she rolled her eyes towards Yi Futian and left. She naturally knew what Yi Futian meant. Are you flirting with Lu Chunyu? Ji Biu asked behind him with a smile. She figured out now that Yi Futian's group was not going to join the Lu Kingdom. They'd just met each other in advance. She thought the bridegroom Yi Futian mentioned was himself. Yi Futian ignored her and continued his cultivation. More and more people gathered at the peak of Mirror Mountain. Li Daoqing of the Fuyun Sword clan had been defeated twice. Miu Yunhe and Xiao Teng were defeated by someone at a lower level than them. The fates of the three people were all seized. Ji Biu's witch requiem was suppressed by the music of someone at a lower level. And then the witch became his maid to serve him. Such news would definitely cause a sensation. After the news spread, an endless stream of people set foot on the top of the hill. All parties, even people of top powers, arrived. This place quickly became full of people. Although there were many relics on the hill, strong cultivators used to come here separately instead of converging here at the same time. This grand occasion was absolutely rare. Gathering around the statues, many eyes fell on Yi Futian. They kept pointing and commenting. Yi Futian chose to ignore them. The witch Ji Biu sat beside him. She was waiting for everything that would happen with some anticipation. She would like to see whether Yi Futian could bear it or not. Chapter 197 Fanatic. Chapter 197, Fanatic. These days, other than cultivating, Yi Futian also learned a lot about the top forces of the Eastern Baron territory. There were three most powerful forces in the center of the region: the Qin dynasty, Donghua clan, and the Eastern Baron College. The Qin dynasty was also called the Eastern Qin. It had once ruled over the Eastern Baron territory but then dissolved. The other forces rose up, creating the current situation. Even so, the other kingdoms still made obeisance to the Qin dynasty. It ruled over various kings and was extremely powerful. It was above the other kingdom in the Eastern Baron territory, the Lu Kingdom, and resided in the best location. The Donghua clan showed signs of becoming the #1 clan in the Eastern Baron territory. The signs were getting stronger in the recent years too. The Eastern Baron College was the #1 college in the area. It had nurtured countless monstrously talented people. In the aspect of training disciples, the college was unsurpassed. These three had the longest heritage. The Qin dynasty was a nation. Though the Donghua clan was powerful, it wasn't as good as the Eastern Baron College in training disciples. That was why Lu Chunyu recommended Yi Futian to join the college. It was undoubtedly the best choice. There had always been many rumors that many of the noble figures in the top forces had all cultivated in the Eastern Baron College. Other than these top three heritage forces, the Fuyun Sword clan was the best for swordsmanship. It was known as the Orthodox. The Sword Saint Mountain was the best for the broadsword. The Fuyun Sword clan and Sword Saint Mountain had been rivals for many years. When their disciples met, they would battle it out. Of course, the Lu Kingdom, Witch Clan, Royal Zan Temple, Qianzhou Temple and others were powerful as well. Yi Futian had a general impression of these forces now. As the number of people on the Mirror Mountain increased, more people began discussing Yi Futian. Of course, many of them were just here for the show, some wanted drama, and a few were angry at Yi Futian for treating someone like Ji Biu as a servant. Of course, there were still a tiny number who admired the witch. People from some top forces also came, but Yi Futian didn't know them. How can someone from a low plane take Ji Biu as a servant? Where does he get the courage? Someone not far from Yi Futian said coldly. He was from a noble clan. Apparently, it was because of a bet. Gu Biu kept her word, but he didn't know his place and actually took her. He was so arrogant. He probably forgot his place, someone else said, mocking Yi Futian. In reality, they all knew that Yi Futian naturally better than the others if he could defeat Gu Biu with music. However, they mocked him because they were jealous but also to stir up drama. He has a noble ritual implement and earlier stole the fate of 3 powerful cultivators of the Futian sword clan, including 8th level Mu Yunhe, someone said. Ritual implements are just outside strength. People of the top forces do not need it. Plus, even if with a ritual implement, would he be able to defeat the true strong cultivators of the Witch clan and Futian sword clan? Hearing this, many people nodded. Yi Futian was talented, especially in music and spiritual will, but he was still too shameless. He had robbed Futian cultivators of their fates and made Gu Biu his servant. Just as Gu Biu had said, could he handle it? As more and more people started talking, Yi Futian grew annoyed. Couldn't they let him cultivate in peace? Gu Biu, he called. The girl looked at him and he said, "Get rid of all those people discussing me. I don't want to see them." Gu Biu blinked in shock. These people were mostly feeling angry for her, but Yi Futian told her to chase them away. She stood up sadly, her white dress swaying. She walked over to the crowd. Everyone was surprised and glanced at Yi Futian. How could he be so shameless? "Please leave," Gu Biu muttered. Being a servant was so sad. Everyone looked at the fairy-like figure before them and was speechless. They wouldn't get angry at her, of course. Someone said, "Fairy Gu, why are you like this? He doesn't qualify to treat you like this." "Since I agreed, I must fulfill my duties," Gu Biu said pitifully. Seeing her like this, many people were dazed. They felt even more furious and glared at Yi Futian. Someone said coldly, "Do you dare fight me? Hurry up." Yi Futian chastised Gu Biu, ignoring them. This servant was out of line and even tried tempting men. He should teach her a lesson. "Okay." Gu Biu nodded while feeling wronged. She released her powerful aura and the people before her became even more furious. They couldn't resent Gu Biu, they just hated Yi Futian more and left angrily. They didn't forget to insult Yi Futian for being so shameless and hide behind a woman while still making her his servant. Lu Chanu watched him from afar. She didn't know what Yi Futian was thinking. The witch was doing her job but still setting traps for him. Many people were already angry and now it was building up. It would explode someday. He really didn't worry about getting into a mess. What made Lu Chanu speechless was that he could still cultivate peacefully. He didn't care at all. The people of the top forces arrived gradually. The Futian sword clan was the most eye-catching. As soon as she saw them, Lu Chanu got closer to Yi Futian's group. However, the Futian sword clan seemed very nonchalant. They waited quietly and didn't hurry to deal with Yi Futian. They clearly knew Yi Wuchen was difficult. Mu Yunhe was the example. Lu Chanu was present too. The Royal Zan Temple and Sword Saint Mountain arrived too. Some of them knew Yi Futian's group and Lulan Shui. Earlier, they were there when the prides of the 4 top forces had gone to the Lulan relic for the trial. They'd used the relic as a battleground to test their skills. It was in that relic where Li Daoyun took Yi Wuchen's arm and started the rivalry. No one expected that they would come to Mirror Mountain and challenge the Futian sword clan so daringly. They were surprised to see the Virgin Lulan Shui of ancient Lulan here too. At that moment, a few monks walked to the peak of the mountain, attracting much attention. They were from the Qianzhou Temple. There was another group beside them. They had extraordinary auras and were extremely confident. The Donghua clan. Many people were surprised. They didn't think the Mirror Mountain would be so lively that even the Donghua clan was attracted. They were close to the number 1 clan in the Eastern Barren Territory. They were very powerful and all their disciples were talented. The leader scanned the crowd as if trying to size them up. Then his gaze fell upon Gu Biu. They had met several times before. This attractive and powerful woman was now someone's servant. Then he looked beside her to Yi Futian. He walked straight over there. The monks of the Qianzhou Temple also walked towards the crowd. Hua Qingqi of the Donghua clan. Everyone looked at him. He was well known amongst the younger generation of the Eastern Barren Territory. Plus, he was from the Donghua clan. A few moments later, he walked over to the battle drums. Gazing at Yi Futian, he asked, "I heard that some fanatics arrived at the Mirror Mountain. Is it you all?" Yi Futian looked up at Hua Qingqi and then to Ji Biyu. "I can't handle the Donghua clan," Ji Biyu replied with a smile. It wasn't that she didn't want to fulfill her duties. Yi Futian had heard that the Donghua clan seemed to be the #1 clan. He glanced at Hua Qingqi and asked, "Yes. I don't mind if people are arrogant, but you must be skilled," Hua Qingqi said. "You defeated Ji Biyu in the relic and made her your servant. Now, there are people from more forces present. Your plane is too low, and you clearly lack true ability. Why don't we challenge each other here? If you are talented enough, the Donghua clan can consider accepting you." He had a high status in the Donghua clan and could say something like that. Many people were shocked. If Yi Futian joined them, even the Fuyun Sword clan would be powerless. Of course, there were people from many top forces here. It wouldn't be easy to win in this fight. "Do you really think that you are #1 in the Eastern Barren Territory?" A mocking voice said at this time. Everyone looked to see another person walk over. He was alone and was very handsome. He wore all white and his long hair was swept up under a crown. He walked with his hands behind his back and stood out from the crowd. "The college has come too." Everyone was shocked. He had come. Hua Qingqi had proposed for everyone to challenge Yi Futian and test his talent so he could consider accepting Yi Futian as a disciple. He was proud as if the Donghua clan really was #1. "What? The college is interested too." Hua Qingqi smiled at the newcomer. He obviously knew who it was. He was very famous. The man from the college glanced at Yi Futian. "I heard that he's quite talented but is too overconfident. He doesn't have high cultivation but is so shameless. I don't like people who act above their level. The college doesn't lack fanatics and also doesn't accept idiots." The man spoke straightforwardly. The college didn't lack fanatics because he was one. Chapter 198 Choosing Clans. Chapter 198 Choosing Clans. The Eastern Barren College was the college with the longest history in Eastern Barren Territory. It was undoubtedly the representative of all colleges in Eastern Barren Territory. The college taught all kinds of students, including both proud and low-profile cultivators as well as fanatics. Certainly, one must be capable enough to gain the title of fanatic. Otherwise, even those top talents could barely be called fanatics in the college. Tang Yi was a famous fanatic among the juniors in the college. He would do whatever he wanted without concerns. He didn't know Yi Futian but had heard his stories along the way. He didn't care about what he said, so he even said some rude words. However, Tang Yi didn't mind that. It was Yi Futian's ability to win over Ji Biyu, but it was stupid for him to take Ji Biyu as his maid. That was not something he could afford. Among the peers from the Eastern Barren Territory, he didn't admire many, but that witch from the Witch clan was one of them. Tang Yi was so capricious and wild that there few people could be compared with him. But as fate would have it, Tang Yi saw Ji Biyu as his sister. If he was in the ancient barren world and knew Yi Futian had taken Ji Biyu as his maid, he would have killed him immediately. In his mind, Yi Futian was just a clown who knew nothing about the situation but thought himself mighty. There had never been a shortage of geniuses in the Eastern Barren Territory. He came here today for a true genius. Not only he, but Donghua clan and Qianzhou Temple all came for this guy. As for Yi Futian, Tang Yi just happened to hear about him on the way. The people looked at Tang Yi. What he had said was very straightforward, but that was just what he was like. Yu Sheng cracked his knuckles and looked at Tang Yi coldly. Looking at Tang Yi, Lu Chanu frowned. How did the conflict become so intense? The college was seldom interested in such trifles. From his attitude, it could be inferred that Tang Yi was not here for Yi Futian. It was impossible for him to be here just for humiliating Yi Futian, wasn't it? This was clearly not Tang Yi's style. Seeing the coldness in Yu Sheng and Yi Wuchen's eyes, Lu Chunu walked to them and whispered, "He is Tang Yi from the Eastern Barren College. You can't deal with him. He's from the Eastern Barren College." Yi Futian murmured, "He is right. The mad and the stupid are very close. Many people think they are fanatics, but they are just some self-righteous idiots." "Oh, beside him," Ji Biyu smiled. Then was Tang Yi of the Eastern Barren College the fanatic or Yi Futian? Lu Chanu rolled her eyes. This was the woman's trap for Yi Futian. Yi Futian was in trouble, but it was his fault. He was too impulsive. At this time, some people walked here from the stairs. They were from two powers and all emanated a special temperament with a confrontational intention. Moreover, the two leaders both had faint noble fate. Brother. Lu Chanu was a little shocked at the sight of the man at the left side. That man was her brother, Lu Feiyong. Her brother should be in the outside world, but why was he here in the Eastern Barren Territory? She also recognized the man on the right side of her brother. That man was from the Qin dynasty. Seeing them appear, the people at the top of the mountain seemed to realize something was wrong. The news that Yi Futian had taken the witch as his maid indeed caused a sensation, but not to this extent. Were all the top forces coming? Yi Futian wasn't that influential. Something else must be coming. Lu Feiyong saw Lu Chanu too. He walked to her. What happened? Lu Chanu asked. Apparently, she had guessed that there was something important happening, or there would not be so many strong people gathered here. He is about to pick the clan, Lu Feiyong responded. He was very curious whether he would choose the college or the Donghua clan. Lu Chanu blinked and thought of someone. The guess stunned her. Lu Feiyong said that man was going to pick the clan, not that the clans would pick him. This meant that this man's gift was strong enough to select the top forces. Lu Chanu instantly knew who her brother was referring to. Among those young top talents in the Eastern Barren Territory, only one legendary person had not joined any force yet. Xiao Wuji was a legendary junior in the Eastern Barren Territory who didn't belong to any clans but could be compared with those strongest cultivators. In the ancient barren world, he defeated many top talents and achieved achievements that many people didn't. His records were still kept in many relics. That was why he was so famous, even though he hadn't come to the Mirror Mountain and shown his gift in front of the Mirror Mountain stone wall. No elder had even seen him before, but he was already known to all in the Eastern Barren Territory. All top powers sent invitations to him, but he still hadn't announced which clan he was going to join. But now, was he going to make the decision? Who are you talking about? Asked Yi Wuchen. We are talking about Xiao Wuji, who had left his deeds in the ancient barren world. The Mirror Mountain is the only place he hasn't been to, and now he will come here to pick clans. Lu Chanu looked at Yi Wuchen meaningfully. She didn't believe it when Yi Wuchen said there was no one stronger than Yi Futian and Yu Sheng, though they were very outstanding. But in the Eastern Barren Territory, there were even stronger cultivators in the top powers, such as the college, the Donghua clan, and the Witch clan. Xiao Wuji was among them. Not many were qualified to pick clans here, but Xiao Wuji could. Moreover, he had competed with people of all powers when he was in the ancient barren world. He had conflicts with all the powers, but they still all came, wanting him to join them. Lu Feiyong looked up to Yi Futian's group. He had heard about the news. Lu Chanu still introduced them to her brother. Lu Feiyong nodded to them and said, "If interested, join us." Yi Futian could tell that Lu Feiyong was not so interested in them. What he said was just a casual offer. Though Yi Futian's group was very strong, they were not so outstanding when compared with Xiao Wuji. Naturally, Lu Feiyong was not very interested. Even the Moon clans here. Are they going to enroll a male disciple? Lu Feiyong saw a group of women appear at the top of the mountain. These women were all beautiful, like fairies. They were the disciples of the only female clan among the top powers of the Eastern Barren Territory. The Moon clan only accepted female disciples. Xiao Wuji's choice had nothing to do with Moon clan, but they still came. Accompanied by the arrival of the top forces, people on the mountaintop began to realize that Yi Futian and the witch were not the reason for those strong cultivators' arrival. It was Xiao Wuji. Many people were guessing which clan Xiao Wuji would pick. As for Yi Futian and Jiyu Biyu, their news was forgotten by people at this moment. All powers are here now. Hua Qingqi of Donghua clan smiled, then looked at Yi Futian. What do you think of my suggestion? Would you like to challenge people of all powers? You might get the chance to join the Donghua clan. Hua Qingqi thought that it would also be a good idea to enroll several talents before Xiao Wuji arrived. When Xiao Wuji came, then he would fight with all his might. No, Yi Futian said with a smile. Make him challenge people so that he could have the chance to join the Donghua clan, while Xiao Wuji could pick any clan he wanted. There was such a big difference. If he agreed with Hua Qingqi, he'd have no dignity left. After the barren city, he'd come straight to the Mirror Mountain to pick clans. Today, he would witness someone else make the same choice. It was interesting to him. If you miss the chance, you might never get another chance. Hua Qingqi smiled. Yi Futian's refusal was not something shameful to him. The Donghua clan was becoming the top clan of the Eastern Barren Territory. They didn't accept anyone, even if others wanted him. It's all right. Yi Futian smiled lightly. If the chance was missed, he might never get another chance. Yi Futian agreed with that. Countless people arrived at the top of the Mirror Mountain after hearing the news. At this time, some other people of the Futian Sword clan also arrived. One in the group glared directly at Yi Wuchen and Yi Futian as he arrived. Step after step, he walked over to somewhere near Yi Futian's group. His eyes were like sharp swords. It was Li Daoyun of the Futian Sword clan, the man they met in the Lulin relic. The man looked at Yi Wuchen's lost arm and said coldly, "It seems that losing one arm is not enough." When rushing into the imperial palace of Lulin Kingdom, Li Daoyun was very arrogant and aggressive. Obviously, he didn't expect that Yi Wuchen's group dared to come here so soon. Li Daoyun from the Futian Sword clan, Yi Futian said. This was how Li Daoyun responded when he asked Li Daoyun at the Lulin relic. Hearing his words, Li Daoyun looked at him with eyes sharp as daggers. You finally came. Yi Futian smiled brilliantly as if he had been waiting for Li Daoyun to come here. Li Daoyun halted and then smiled too, coldly. Yes, I came. So, are you ready? He glanced at Lu Chanu and Lu Feiyong and went back to the Futian Sword clan. He wasn't in a hurry. So many people of top powers gathered here not to see how he would deal with Yi Futian but to wait for someone. He would only kill Yi Futian after that. Chapter 199. Chapter 199, Xiao Wuji. The disciples of all the top forces were grouped at the top of Mirror Mountain. While this scene wasn't unprecedented, it was still rare. Many people were excited. They didn't expect to see so many top talents today. Quite a few they'd only heard about before. It was the first time seeing them in person. They would see Xiao Wuji later too. That was the one who was equal to the truly monstrously talented ones in the Eastern Barren Territory. The various forces had spells on the Mirror Mountain stone wall so they could see what was happening. Xiao Wuji chose this place because it was probably his last time coming to the ancient barren world. He probably would not come anymore. Yi Futian's group also waited. They were curious about what kind of person could cause such a commotion. Countless eyes looked at the stairs. Lin Yuyao looked and then glanced at Yi Futian. Ever since knowing him, he was always the most eye-catching one. It was rare to see him like this, overlooked by others while someone else was in the spotlight. Would Yi Futian still show his brilliant talent this time? Finally, someone climbed the steps. He looked average but as soon as he appeared, he became the star. Everyone's gazes were fixed on him. He walked slowly but each step was at a different time. His rhythm was very strange. His black hair hung carelessly over his shoulders and there was no expression on those chiseled features. However, on his average face, his eyes were extremely deep. He could swallow everyone's gazes. Xiao Wuji. The people all looked over at him but no one invited him. Since Xiao Wuji would choose a clan at the mountaintop, he would definitely do something. The people could only wait and see. Thus, the vast region on the mountaintop quieted down. Only Xiao Wuji's footsteps sounded. He gazed around, not at the crowd but at the various relics. Then he started walking somewhere. The direction he chose was where Yi Futian was. He obviously wasn't going for Yi Futian but for the statues. Many people moved aside subconsciously, emptying the area. However, Yi Futian's group didn't move. Move, a cold and domineering voice said. It was Tang Yi from the college. He gazed at Yi Futian's group with undisguised disdain. Just as he'd said before, he really didn't like Yi Futian. Yu Sheng looked coldly at Tang Yi but Yi Futian didn't seem to mind. He gestured at them to move and walked voluntarily to the side. Yu Sheng looked at him in confusion. Just watch, Yi Futian said nonchalantly. He watched the man walking to the flame statue. He was curious how powerful this man could be if all the top forces were waiting. Would he be qualified to compete? It was not only Yi Futian. Everyone looked quietly at Xiao Wuji. He seemed to want to test the relics here. Terrifying flame intent seemed to shoot out of Xiao Wuji's deep eyes, falling on the statue. Then he closed his eyes and felt for it quietly. After some time, strands of fire stretched from the statue to Xiao Wuji, gradually enveloping him. Is he going to get to that point? Everyone's hearts trembled, especially those who had tried the statue. They knew how difficult it was to get to this point, but Xiao Wuji did it so quickly. Xiao Wuji's body seemed to burn. Various maple leaf prints appeared and then swallowed his entire body. Endless flame intent swept over him, bathing him in firelight. His body flashed and walked directly into the flame statue. His entire body seemed to fuse into it. He sat inside, sensing the statue's intense strength. As expected of Xiao Wuji, the audience's heart trembled. As expected, he used an extremely short time to reach this step even though it was his first try. Yi Futian was calm and he watched quietly. Xiao Wuji was so reputable and his talent was undeniable. Very few present could perform this well. Of course, Yi Futian was an exception. He wanted to see how far Xiao Wuji could go. Xiao Wuji studied inside for a long time and everyone waited quietly with no complaints. He was destined to become one of the top cultivators in the Eastern Barren Territory. They might be able to see him now, but after some years, most of them would only be able to look up at him. After a long while, Xiao Wuji separated from the statue. There were faint maple marks on him. He'd finished with this statue. He moved towards the ice statue beside the flame one. He radiated with an icy aura and his eyes seemed covered in frost. A similar scene unfolded. He felt for the statue and then went in to cultivate. After a while, he walked to the golden statue beside it. It looked like a statue made of gold. To Xiao Wuji, it made no difference. Is he a full attribute? Yi Futian murmured. Yes, Lu Chunyu nodded. Xiao Wuji is a full attribute mandate sorcerer, including spiritual sorcery. Not many in the Eastern Barren Territory are like this, Lu Feiyong murmured. Sadly, he probably won't choose our kingdom. The Lu kingdom had no advantages compared to the other forces. In power, they weren't as strong as the Qin dynasty. In other aspects, they weren't as attractive as the Dongwu clan or college. Thus, Lu Feiyong didn't have much hope. He predicted that Xiao Wuji would choose between the Qin dynasty, Dongwu clan, or the college. You've comprehended before these statues for quite some time. It seems that there's a big difference, Gu Biyu said with a smile. Yi Futian gazed her indifferently. He didn't feel anything towards her smile and beauty. Servants shouldn't speak so much. If you keep doing this, I'll sell you, he said coolly. The witch's smile froze and she stared at Yi Futian in resentment. Could she be sold? Yi Futian ignored her. He continued watching quietly. After the three statues, Xiao Wuji seemed to lose interest and left the region. Everyone's eyes moved with him. Xiao Wuji walked to a big boulder. The stone was very strange. It glowed faintly. The entire stone was like a huge mirror with illusory light. Many figures were carved on the surface. They were all engraved into the stone with different depths. It was the image on the wall. Standing before the stone, you could feel the powerful intent power within it. The more talented someone was, the deeper one's image could be. The images on the stone had all been left by others. The deepest one was 7 inches. It seemed ingrained in the stone. Xiao Wuji stood before the stone. A strange power engulfed them. Then they saw him walk forward. He seemed to walk into the stone with every step. An image was branded onto the stone and kept deepening. 1 inch, 2 inches. Xiao Wuji's movement gradually slowed. A terrifying power pressed down on him, but he continued forward. The image grew even deeper. Finally, the image was 8 inches deep and Xiao Wuji finally stopped. 8 inches. Another record. Everyone stared at Xiao Wuji in shock. He'd left an 8-inch deep image. He seemed to be a miracle created just to break all records. Next, Xiao Wuji walked to the battle drum area. He raised his hand and beat the drum. There was a boom that shook the world. That moment, Xiao Wuji seemed to understand it. His hands kept banging on the drum. The booms sounded continuously, lifting a shocking wave. The drum beat 7 times before finally stopping. Then there was an 8th and 9th boom. A windstorm swept through the sky and the drum beat in everyone's ears. This was something many people couldn't do no matter how they tried. But to Xiao Wuji, it was insignificant. So scary. Many hearts trembled. They had to take a long time with any of these relics here, but it seemed so easy for Xiao Wuji. He seemed to lose interest again. Leaving this relic, he walked to the Mirror Mountain stone wall. This was the final point. How many noble images could Xiao Wuji create on the wall? The crowd watched as he closed his eyes. The next moment, a horrible fate rose up behind him. It transformed into various colors and bloomed wildly. At that moment, everyone stared, fixated on the image and the brilliant fate. Xiao Wuji had comprehended many noble intents. They were all independent, and this noble fate was of the upper level. Unparalleled in the ancient barren world, Tang Yi said as he looked at Xiao Wuji's noble fate. Even many with upper-level noble fate couldn't comprehend so many different intents like him. If he could choose the college, those old guys would definitely fight for him. To Tang Yi, it was highly possible Xiao Wuji would choose him. That was because he was from the college. At that moment, many noble figures of the Eastern Barren Territory used a magical mirror to show one figure. That figure was Xiao Wuji. At the same time, they also saw the scene at the Mirror Mountain stone wall. They were all interested. Chapter 200 Surpassed by None. Chapter 200 Surpassed by None. All cultivators of the noble plane in the Eastern Barren Territory had heard of Xiao Wuji's name. The disciples had told them many times about this man who'd broken many records in the ancient barren world. But the first time they met Xiao Wuji was at the Mirror Mountain stone wall. Naturally, all forces were interested in someone who was known as the most talented of the young cultivators in the Eastern Barren Territory. No one knew who he would choose. Now, all eyes were on Xiao Wuji at the top of Mirror Mountain. The horrible fate, hundreds of meters high, rushed into the stone wall. Then the wall turned transparent. A strange glow covered Xiao Wuji. What's inside the stone wall? Yi Futian asked Yi Wuchen out of curiosity. He'd heard that only Yi Wuchen had tried the Mirror Mountain stone wall before. There's a figure created by noble intent. It clashes and fights with your own intent, Yi Wuchen said. And it gets stronger. Whenever it defeats a noble, a new one will appear on the wall. Yi Futian's eyes flashed. Yi Wuchen had defeated 2 nobles and failed with the third one. This meant that 2 nobles appeared on the stone wall. How many nobles could Xiao Wuji put onto the wall? Soon, a noble appeared on the smooth mirror-like wall, representing Xiao Wuji's accomplishments. So fast, everyone thought. Clearly, Xiao Wuji had defeated the opponent with extreme speed. After a while, a second noble gradually appeared. Everyone grew anticipatory. With the nobles of the Mirror Mountain stone wall, it grew more difficult as it progressed. It was already difficult to make 2 appear. Only the top figures could make a third appear. As for 4, only the most crazily talented ones of the Eastern Barren Territory could do it. How many could Xiao Wuji make appear? Gradually, a third noble flickered onto the stone wall. It glowed but wasn't solid yet before a terrifying glow enveloped Xiao Wuji. His black hair fluttered and he stood up straight. The noble figure on the stone wall trembled before finally solidifying. The moment that happened, a horrible light rushed into Xiao Wuji's body. According to rumors, when the third noble was imprinted onto the stone wall, the challenger could receive great benefits. It was the feedback from the Mirror Mountain stone wall. Xiao Wuji must have received it. After that, an even more terrifying light enveloped Xiao Wuji. He seemed to be trying again. A fourth noble figure flickered in and out. It was about to be carved onto the wall and something frightening appeared. At that moment, Xiao Wuji seemed to be enduring horrible pressure. His body started trembling. One could guess as to how terrifying the stone wall was. There were many people present but few had completed 3 noble figures. They'd experienced this scene before and understood what Xiao Wuji was going through. Finally, under that horrible sight, a 4th statue appeared. It was branded onto the Mirror Mountain stone wall. An even more dazzling light washed over Xiao Wuji. His entire body shone brightly and brilliantly. The 4th noble, everyone's hearts trembled. This was the record of the Mirror Mountain stone wall. Only the best of the best had done this before and no one had surpassed them. So powerful. The people were shaken but Xiao Wuji continued to challenge. The situation at the Mirror Mountain stone wall couldn't be described as only frightening now. The strange phenomenon filled the sky, drowning everything. Xiao Wuji's mind was bearing incomprehensible pressure. Finally, there was a muffled sound and he retreated. He couldn't continue challenging. The mirror mountain stone wall shone brilliantly and gradually dimmed. The noble figures also disappeared gradually. Even though he had failed, no one looked down on him. They were all impressed. He'd beat 9 drums, left an 8-inch image on the wall, and easily comprehended 3 statues. If he continued, he could do even more. At the mirror mountain stone wall, he'd tied the record, making 4 noble images appear on the wall. This record was so amazing. He could be compared to any top figure without seeming weaker. In fact, he seemed even better. Wow, Yi Futian praised as well. Xiao Wuji was incredible. He didn't know about the others, but Yi Wuchen could only make 2 images appear on the wall. Xiao Wuji had done 4. It was obvious how powerful he was. This was possibly also related to cultivation. Yi Wuchen was skilled with the sword, but Xiao Wuji was a full attribute sorcerer. He had various types of noble intent and would naturally hold advantages while challenging. Even so, the talent Xiao Wuji displayed was already impressive enough. No wonder the top forces of the Eastern Barren Territory all came for him. The witch Jiu Biyu grinned at Yi Futian. Her senior brother was no weaker than Xiao Wuji. He was the type of talent that could command the skies and earth. The 5th noble will probably never appear on the mirror mountain stone wall, Xiao Wuji sighed. He turned slowly and looked at everyone. This was both his first and last visit to the top of the mountain. After this, he would choose a clan to join and try for the Arcana Plane. Will he choose a clan now? Everyone's eyes flashed in anticipation. Xiao Wuji, would you like to join the Royal Zon Temple? We will definitely give you the best treatment, a cultivator from the Royal Zon Temple said. Even though they weren't the most powerful, Xiao Wuji would be the center of attention if he joined. This was beneficial to him. The other groups all started speaking. However, the Fuyun Sword Clan, the Sword Saint Mountain, and Qianzhou Temple were Buddhist clans. The Moon Clan was female only. Many guessed that Xiao Wuji most likely would only choose between the Donghua clan and college. However, these 2 forces didn't hurriedly invite him. Xiao Wuji, if you join the Qin dynasty, we will allow a princess to marry you, a prince of the Qin dynasty said. Many hearts shook. The Qin dynasty was so aggressive. In order to get this talent, they were willing to make a princess marry below her class. This way, Xiao Wuji wouldn't have to worry about his status in the Qin dynasty. He would be part of the royalty. This was to remove his concerns. The Donghua clan is most suitable for your cultivation, Hua Qingqi said. I am from the college, Tang Yi said now. He spoke slowly. The college extends an invitation to you. Everyone was shaken. Was this the college's confidence? I am from the college. What kind of confidence was this? Countless eyes fell upon Xiao Wuji. What would he choose? Xiao Wuji gazed at everyone and slowly said, I choose the college. There was no hesitation in his voice. He chose the college. Clearly, he'd already decided beforehand. This was why the college was confident. They didn't have to say much. Tang Yi only said that he was from the college and invited Xiao Wuji. Now, Xiao Wuji agreed. Another top cultivator belonged to the college. A smile appeared in Tang Yi's eyes. He said, welcome. Today, he came for Xiao Wuji and the visit was not wasted. Being able to witness this scene was indeed something to be happy about. The other forces all looked disappointed. Of course, the Donghua clan was the most disappointed. After all, they were the top contenders with the college. But this was Xiao Wuji's own choice. No one had forced him, so they could only accept it. Shall we go straight to the college? Tang Yi asked. Okay. Xiao Wuji nodded. He'd already prepared when he came. Then, let's go. Smiling brightly, Tang Yi said, after you. Xiao Wuji strode forward. Everyone subconsciously moved aside. They watched Xiao Wuji and Tang Yi leave together. The 2 walked to the edge of the mirror mountain and down the steps. Tang Yi had come for Xiao Wuji. Now, he left in satisfaction and there were no other problems. Hua Qingqi of Donghua clan looked disappointed. He glanced at Yi Futian's group and left too. They'd given Yi Futian a chance before. Since Yi Futian didn't want them, then whatever. The Sword Saint Mountain, Qiancho Temple, and Moon Clan all left as well, disinterested. They'd all come for Xiao Wuji today. However, the Fuyun Sword Clan didn't leave. Li Doyun's expression was sharp as he looked to Yi Futian's group. He wasn't in a hurry. He'd wait for everyone to leave. In his eyes, Yi Futian was already dead. As if a banquet had ended, many people looked dazed and at a loss. It was so great, Gu Biyu said cheerily. Indeed, Yi Futian smiled. Then he started walking somewhere. Gu Biyu was confused. Where was he going? Yi Futian wordlessly walked to the battle drums, standing before the 9 drums. Boom. The first beat was soft. Everyone's eyes flashed at the sound and looked to Yi Futian. With Xiao Wuji's performance, did someone else want to try? It would be so boring in comparison. Boom. The second beat came. Even though everyone heard it, there was still no feeling. Boom, boom, boom. The third, fourth, and fifth beat came. The air started shaking as the beats became louder. Many people of the top forces were going down the steps beside Mirror Mountain. Hearing the drumbeats coming from the mountaintop, they were all shocked. Was someone still beating the drums? They paid no heed and continued descending. Boom, boom. Then the 6th and 7th beats came like thunder. On the stairs, Tang Yi smiled at Xiao Wuji. I wonder who is trying to compete with you. Boom. With the 8th beat, the air shook crazily as if struck with lightning. At the mountaintop, many people looked at Yi Futian. At the moment, his white robes fluttered and his long hair flew. Without stopping, he punched like a dragon. His fist beat onto the drumbeat was like a dragon's cry. Boom. The skies and earth shook together as the drum sounded for the 9th time. The scenery changed. Everyone at the mountaintop looked at Yi Futian, impressed. He was indeed talented. Tang Yi and the others on the steps heard this too. They paused slightly but smiled and continued down. 9 drumbeats were nice but not amazing. Standing before the battle drum, Yi Futian's clothing and hair flew in the wind. He raised his arm once again,